Good evening, America. Welcome back to another episode of Break the Machine podcast. There's no Red Day Walker tonight. He had to take care of some family stuff and whatnot. That's always most important than anything, taking care of family. So tonight, our guest host is the one and only Blondie. You know, she's been doing work behind the scenes to try to get things done for us, to get us guests and whatnot. She brought Jake from State Farm. We got Omar Navarro, who's supposed to be on tonight. I kind of mentioned it on Wednesday, but due to legal issues, he has to, he had to kind of bail out for travel and whatnot. But he will be with us for like the first 30 minutes of next Friday show when we have Rose Angel and Cozy. Rose Angel, one of the Perez sisters, and Cozy Wellness will be back with us. So Omar Navarro will be with us next Friday for the first 30 minutes so he can get this story out for you all so you guys know what's going on with him. He's going to be enwrapped for a very long time with what's going on with him. It's bullshit. We'll let him tell his story on Friday, but just basically the same shit that Maxine Waters has been doing for decades. They're gonna fucking try to throw the book at him, and with Maxine, they just find her campaign. Didn't even fucking go after her. But with all of that said, let's take care of some administrative stuff. All right. Don't forget to pick up your Stars and Stripes coffee, fam. If you'd like to support the show, please buy me a coffee. It's up. Link is up at the top. The buy me a coffee link will be in the description, and you will see the ticker go across occasionally. So without further ado, let's bring on one and only Blondie so we can get the show going. Blondie, what is going on?
Hey, how are you guys?
It's good
Oh my
to
goodness.
have you on. Thanks for stepping in.
Yeah,
Really totally appreciate you taking the time to come hang with us.
of
It's always good
course.
when you're on the show. So, and a lot of stuff to cover tonight. One of the first things I would like you all to know is that if you got that no king shit going on in any of your states where you live, if you live anywhere where they're going to be protesting or whatnot, Antifa's already out buying MAGA gear and all kinds of stuff so they can cause chaos. Don't get caught up in it. Fucking do something else with your family. Go to a baseball game, go to an amusement park, whatever, water park. If it's, hot and summery where you're at, just don't get caught up in any of that shit. I know a lot of us, we're very talkative and we want to get our piece out, but stay away from that shit. They're just going to cause chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
definitely
tonight,
going to be pretty scary this weekend for sure. Tomorrow is
yeah,
going to be really crazy.
yeah, I think that it'll be pretty crazy. Lisa Angelina, what is going on? It's good to see you. Lisa was on with us on last Friday. So it's good to see you. I see Rumble is turning up again. Say what's up,
Nice.
fam. Come on, Rumble. Say what's up to us. We want to know. But this weekend is also Flag Day tomorrow and the Army's 250th birthday. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to play the Pledge of Allegiance for you all. Okay. And let's just rock out to being Americans for like 2 minutes.
Let's go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of these United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to my country I make my pledge to always love, protect, and defend her. And we the people across this land.
Okay. And we got a freaking connection issue with freaking, what do you call it?
One nation
Sports Ministry.
under God, we stand united for liberty and freedom for all.
Right on. Can never go wrong with
Nice.
listening to the Pledge of Allegiance, something that they should be doing back in schools, that they don't do enough. I remember in high school we used to have to stand in the morning to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and this was
Hmm.
back in the 1990s. We were still doing it, So it's just wild stuff that we don't do it anymore. It's part of the reason why patriotism and the whole generation disappeared when they stopped it and they made it an optional thing. You know,
Yeah.
my generation and I would say the older millennials probably still had to do it as well. But tomorrow is Flag Day, so that's why I played the Pledge of Allegiance for everybody tonight. And that was compliments of JT White. You can see him on YouTube. He's got other stuff and whatnot. I didn't even know he had that. I didn't even know who he is, but I was like, it's kind of cool. So I was kind of with it and whatnot. So you know, it's we got to get back to the basics when it comes to this stuff, and it's going to take us as citizens to really get involved with our schools, making sure they insert this back in. Good thing is that the younger generation, I want to say Gen X and I'm sorry, Gen Z and Gen A, are definitely they're just doing their thing. They're becoming a lot more conservative. There's been a push with that generation, especially in the older generation of Gen Z. They're going back to church and whatnot, and it's just a good thing
Yeah.
to see. So as we become more conservative with the younger generation, because liberals they don't have children, right? So like we can they kill their kids, right? So like with us we could have more children and continue to raise them with some good solid values, and the pendulum might shift a little bit in the future.
Hmm.
What do you think about that? I know you're a parent as well.
Yes, I mean, actually interesting. So tonight for dinner we actually ordered Chick-fil-A, and right when we had it delivered, my son, he's like, "Yeah, mom." He was like, "The owner of Chick-fil-A, he's like a racist and this." And I was like, "Well, I was like, you might want to check your facts there, because no, he's not." I was like, "He's just a religious guy. He does, even though he could make money on Sundays, he would
He
much
doesn't.
rather be closed and observe Sunday as a day of, you
Yeah.
know, observing your religion, or, whatever you want to call it. So practicing your religion, or even if you don't, just to have the day off, day with your family." I
Yeah.
was like, that doesn't
Yeah.
mean he's a racist. It doesn't mean he's a homophobe. Just like
But
I'm not
it's
a homophobe, I just because I don't want to see your gay pride flags and see all your gay shit doesn't mean that I don't really give a shit what you do behind closed doors with your boyfriend or your
correct.
10 boyfriends. I don't care. But
Yeah.
my kids don't need to see it. No one else's kids need to see it, and I don't need to see it because I don't care.
No, I'm
So that
with you
doesn't mean I'm
100%.
homophobe. That just means I'm a normal person. And
I'm
that's what I was trying
100%.
to
It's
explain to
it's
him.
it's
So,
I tell people all the time, like, listen, you don't have to hate the person, right? But you should
exactly.
stand on business. If you're a religious person, you should stand on business when it comes to the sin, right? And be honest with your gay
Exactly.
friends and be like, yeah, listen, your life is your life. You got free will. God gave us that. That's what you want to do. You want to take a fucking other dude's balls off your chin or fucking off your ass cheeks. That's up to you. I mean, that's on you. Really, that's what you do behind closed doors is your business. But when it affects
Exactly.
my children and other people's children, and you're having drag queen hour and all this other bullshit, and
Yeah.
putting these pornographic books on the shelves of the school libraries, and actually, trying to teach kids to desensitize them to sex, because in the end, these animals
Right.
just want to, and it's obviously not the whole gay community, but there's just a segment, okay, that just want to have the pedophiles out there and the hebophiles. We should be
Oh
correct.
yeah.
There is a difference between pedophilia and hebophilia. I know we lump them all together as pedophiles, but it's actually, post-pubescent is actually hebophilia. Um, but they want to do nefarious things to your children, and it's up to us to protect them. So like, again,
Yeah.
whatever people do behind closed doors is their business. I don't give a rat's ass. Just keep it away from not only my kids and my family, keep it away from other people's kids. And I'm going to stand
Yeah.
on business to protect other people's kids too. It's not just my own.
Yeah. My other son, he's in middle school, and um their school year just ended, but like a few weeks ago he came home and he was like, "Yeah, mom, today we were doing like health class and we are learning about the different genders." And I was like, "Interesting.
Yeah,
What did they what how many genders are there?" And he was like, "Oh, just two." And I was like,
good,
"Sweet.
good.
Great." But I'm going to ask the question because I want to know, are they teaching my kid there's more than two? Because if they are, then
Yeah,
mama's
there's
gonna
a
have some
problem.
problems and we're gonna have to go talk to somebody at the school.
But see, but
But
again, but you're an active parent, right? Like, I
right.
will say this, like my generation, Gen X, We raised ourselves. Okay, we had to. We were just the way it was. Our parents worked and stuff like that. Some of our parents worked 2 jobs, but both parents in the household were working. So it was me and my little brother, and we had we had caretakers like my aunt or my grandmother. And my mom didn't really my mom well my stepmother and my dad didn't really. I played sports and whatnot in high school, right? I lived with my biological mom till I was like 13, and then I moved to go live with my dad because my mom was dying, and she asked my father to take me. But I always knew who my dad was, right? Like I used to spend all summer with him. I used to every holiday with him. So like I knew who my family were. I knew my stepmother was like my mom since I was 2 years old. She never treated me like nothing but her son. And if you tell her I'm not, if someone tries to tell her I'm not her son, she'll go fucking the Bronx will come at her really really quick, And it's just we had to take care of ourselves, right? But I will say this: when something went down in the school, my parents were fucking there, right? Like they weren't just there for me getting in trouble, right? Because I used to get in trouble all the time. I was a knucklehead, I used to cut class. Like it was so stupid because my senior year in high school was fucking embarrassing. I got put in a class, okay, with the real true delinquent kids, not even special ed. It was under special ed, okay, and like I at that point I became a straight A student because I was like I got to get out of here. I ended up not getting out, but it was embarrassing because they took me out of Gen Pop and put me in fucking
Gen
isolation
Pop,
and
like
stuff
jail.
like that. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was embarrassed, right? So it actually embarrassed me because when I applied myself, I was a straight A student. It's just, I was a good student in the city of New York. I was a straight A student. I moved out of the city and I realized at a young age how deficient the education was in New York City for me because I went to the fucking suburbs in Rockland County and freaking, it was like night and day. I was like, oh, at best, when I started, I was a C student based on what I learned from the city. And
Mhm.
it gave me mentally, it gave me like I was fucking depressed with that shit. I was like, I guess I'm stupid. I can't get this shit. So what did I do? I started cutting classes and made it worse. Like that was gonna help me or anything like that. But my parents also came to the school. My original point was my parents also came to school when I said something was wrong, right? So like if I said,
Right.
hey, teacher said this to me or whatever like that, or they treated me like this. So it wasn't just for me when I got in trouble for being a knucklehead. They went to school also when I was right and defended me, right? They didn't just fucking leave me to the wind. My generation, for whatever reason, most of us, I feel we failed fucking, we failed the older Gen Z and the younger fucking millennials. We didn't show up like we should have, right? Like we were busy working and grinding and stuff like that. Didn't even pay attention. Dropped our kids off. Obviously, not everybody in Gen X, but like a lot of us would just drop our kids off at sports and whatnot, and just go back to the grind, right? So that's where the fucking balance was. I will say,
Yeah.
my dad did say something to me. He was like, I never understood how important school boards were until the shit that was going on during COVID. And I was like, wow, I didn't take that
Yeah.
serious enough. And we should have been more involved back then because we're having the problems that we have now. Uh,
Yeah, during COVID, actually, I remember getting something from, so they never had a school nurse ever until COVID. And then
mhm,
once COVID happened, I remember getting a letter in the mail saying, even if your kids tested positive, even if they tested positive for the antibody for COVID, it was still being reported as a positive COVID. So
right.
even if your kid, and once I read that sentence, I was like, oh, this is an even bigger crock of shit. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was so crazy. I don't know.
But I was happy to see, one of the good things that came out of COVID was parents fucking whoa, whoa,
Asking
whoa. What do you?
questions, getting
Yeah,
involved.
what are you teaching my kids, right? And it wasn't just like the COVID shit. It was just like, wait a minute, my kids coming home with the CRT stuff and everything, right? With the critical race theory and the
Right.
fucking the transformer stuff. And there's 70,000 fucking genders and whatnot. And parents started to get involved, and it took off. It was happening everywhere, but where we saw it was happening a lot was in Loudoun County, in Virginia, was where as at least the media was showing what was going on in Loudoun County, right? Like parents,
I
I don't
have
know
a
if you
lot of
remember.
clients in that county.
Yeah,
That's a crazy county right there.
I don't know if you remember that one parent, that one dad they took out in cuffs because like they just moved the transformer kid from one school to the next, and it was a dad that his daughter got sexually assaulted by this kid, and then he just went to another school and did the same thing and everything, and they
Oh my
didn't,
God, I don't think I saw that. Wow.
yeah, there was a father. They ended up taking him out in cuffs and they arrested him and whatnot. It was just
Jesus.
crazy, it was just nutty shit that was going on, but COVID opened up a lot of eyes for everybody, and mainly parents. And it was good to see that these younger parents are just like they're fully involved now, right? Like you just see them, right? Like Chelsea Boyle, the shit that happened to her, Chelsea's a friend of the show.
Right.
The stuff going on with her kid and stuff like that, and that's her story to tell. So I won't get into it too much. Um, at some point when she can come on, I want to bring her on so she can tell the whole story of what's going on with that. But it just that's how it is, and it was just good to see that parents were now, and even more now, right? Like if you're seeing the movement in California is getting bigger and bigger in a state that's like a communist state. Okay, the parents are fighting tooth and nail to try to save their kids and protect them, and that's a good thing. You can't ever complain, even in a place like California, when parents are getting together and trying to get shit done.
Yeah, and I see so many posts from people that are from California, and they're like, so many people here vote red. Like, I promise we're voting red. Like, I don't know what is happening. But I don't know if you heard, there was an illegal immigrant that was actually hired by LAPD.
Yes, I
Like,
mentioned that. I mentioned that on
okay,
I forgot where the hell. It was like a couple of shows ago. I actually mentioned
was
that.
it? Okay.
Yeah, it might have been Monday's show. I said something about that
Yeah, maybe it
because we were
was.
talking about the riots and shit like that, and I mentioned that in California. Yeah, they made it legal to
Yeah,
hire illegals to be cops. Can you imagine that? People
that's
who
just,
broke the
I know, it's
law.
crazy.
If you have a fucking DUI, LAPD won't pick you up. You know what I'm saying? But they're gonna let you broke into the country and you got a federal fucking crime you committed. They're gonna hire you. That doesn't even make any sense. That doesn't compute with me, right? So like,
It's crazy, and other than, jobs and all and the tax money going to illegal immigrants and all that stuff, like something I with my job now, so other than being a nurse, I'm like a medical manager for a law firm. So all my clients, they've all been like in car accidents, slip and falls and stuff like that. But it's all like there's so many illegal immigrants around the area that it's at. So the amount of illegal immigrants that are involved in hit and runs and all these different things, I mean, it's just astronomical. And so these people have no documentation, they have no social security numbers, they have no car insurance or any
yeah,
kind of insurance. So that means you're on the hook. And that's why
for
all of our
everything.
insurance rates keep going up and up and up. It's because of that.
Yeah, it's
So they affect our lives on so many different angles.
yeah,
It's insane.
that's definitely an effect on insurance premiums. It's one effect. There's a whole bunch of other shit that goes into that too, but it's a big effect
Oh yeah,
that happens. The same thing with our medical costs, right? Like they go
exactly.
because you could go to any emergency room in the country and fucking get taken care of. They can't deny you, right? It used to
Right.
be where they were able to do that. They can't do that anymore. So it doesn't matter if you have insurance or not. Just go and fucking disappear. And a lot of them
Right.
go. They eat up the costs in emergency rooms and whatnot because they can't go to doctors, right? So they go to the emergency room to get taken care of. And it's not just
Yep.
illegals. Fucking plenty of Americans do the same thing. But
Oh
like,
yeah.
but it's a big thing with the illegal community. Criminal aliens. That's what I call them. They do that. That's a big part of it. So like, there's different sectors that the costs go through the fucking roof with different things. And Jonathan said that he voted to break the tiebreaker for next Saturday's movie. We're going to be watching Gladiator on the 21st, which is next Saturday. You
I
guys,
just watched that, and then I just watched Gladiator 2 because I was like, "Oh, I completely forgot about the new Gladiator 2 with Denzel." That actually,
yeah,
I don't know, the first one was a lot better. That's a
yeah,
great movie, though.
it didn't get the same reviews, obviously. Than Travis Spain. What is going on? Travis says, "Love the hat, Meg. It looks great on
Oh,
you."
hi, Travis. Thank you. I know, now I just need to get to the Gulf of America now that I have the hat.
Yeah, yeah, you got to get down there. I'm pretty sure you'd probably enjoy it down there. I love it
I'll drive
down
my
in
car
this
through
area.
some protests. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
I love it down here in this area. It's been rainy, like on and off, but like the sun in between. And I've actually acclimated to the humidity a little bit. So like, and I've always hated humidity my whole fucking life. But like, I just love it where I'm at. It's just I got beaches everywhere I can go to,
Right.
and it's just seafood, all the seafood I can eat and whatnot. I just love it. But let's get into some news tonight. I don't know. Again, these are things that you're not going to see on the mainstream media. I know that Travis, it's good to see you, brother. I know that you guys follow a lot of big accounts and you see the shit that's going on across the world with Iran and Israel. That's between them. Hopefully, we don't get wrapped into that. Doesn't look like Trump is trying to do anything to get wrapped into that. In fact, 60 days ago, for 60 days, he's been fucking warning the Iranians to come to the table, come to the table, come to the table and talk, right? And trying to fucking trying to put the whole thing on ice. But, Israel is his own country. They're going to do what they want. As long as we don't get caught up, I don't give a shit. And I don't think Trump is going to let that happen. But on the things that fucking could happen very well, it'll probably it would take a lot to actually happen. I don't know if you guys saw this, okay? In Denmark, and this was from yesterday. You won't see any of this shit on the Marxist state media. It says Denmark's parliament has approved legislation authorizing U.S. military bases, not bases on Danish soil, as Trump eyes the Greenland annexation. It says the Danish have caved and will allow U.S. bases in their territory. When U.S. President Donald J. Trump expressed his desire to gain control of the island of Greenland, it took most by surprise and generated a panic in the Kingdom of Denmark. While the former colony and present semi-autonomous, because they do rely on the Danes, has belonged to the Danish for centuries, the geopolitical situation may cause a historical shift. And then, obviously Greenland is located between North America and Europe. It's a big, big freaking pass there of a lot of traffic off the coast of Greenland, in between Greenland and Europe and whatnot, with the Russians, the Chinese. It's this has kind of got off the radar, right? If you remember, Trump was talking about this after the inauguration and whatnot. He was like, Greenland. He sent JD Vance up there and whatnot.
Right.
You see his son and Charlie Kirk in this picture. It's something that has been sitting on the back burner and still simmering. Yeah, Travis says, "Come on down, Meg. You've got a place at the Gulf of America."
I know. Almost everybody I know lives in Florida. I'm like, I just need to get to Florida.
I am not in Florida.
I know you aren't.
Travis, I'm not in Florida. I am on the Atlantic side of the coast, but I'm close to the area. I'm not. It's a day's drive for me to get to Florida. So I moved from the Northeast because it's a communist fucking hellhole up there, and I couldn't freaking stand it anymore. And plus, all my family's down in the South now, so I just freaking I just had to freaking bail out. It was time to freaking jump out of the plane and pull my chute and get the fuck off the that crazy train up there. But I am close to Florida, and I actually personally have never been to any other places other than Miami, down in Florida, and I partied down there in the 90s, and then I didn't party in the early 2000s. I had to go down there with my former fucking ball and chain. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, PA is a commie shithole too, Jonathan. We got to get you out of there too, brother.
Yeah, and I'm from Baltimore, so and I'll be home for the 4th. So I have to make sure I wear some of my Trump gear there, to really piss people off. But
God,
I'm from Baltimore, so they don't scare me. It's okay.
I will say this though, I have seen people, and I've seen video of people in New York City walking around with fucking, with MAGA hats and nothing happening. Not like it used to be. Like people just some people will say shit, right? But it's not the way it used to be. Stuff like that. It's not like it is like it was a couple of years ago. Yeah, man. It's the South is where it's at. And if you're a fucking red-blooded American and a Christian conservative, whatever, libertarian, whatever, get out of your shithole. I know it's easier said than done, and we do have people in some of these states. There are many viewers on who, and friends of the show too, that are fighting in their states. And the reality is, the states aren't blue themselves. It's the fucking shithole commie cities in these states that absolutely are just saturated with communism that fuck it up for everybody else in the state. And that's what's terrible about it. Like if you go into California, most of everything outside of the cities are red. Obviously there's like a blue freaking tingent from the border in Mexico all the way up to freaking Los Angeles and whatnot. Then it breaks a little bit red, and then it becomes blue again. Then it's red the rest of the way, the second half of the state. But yeah, yeah, I think Ohio is a bit better. It is definitely less commie, Jonathan. I agree 100%. But this thing in Denmark, right? Like it went away. We didn't hear it in the news cycle. Okay. And here we are, the Danish parliament is like, okay, you guys can build more bases, right? Because Trump is trying to get the minerals there is what he's trying to do. Okay.
Right.
He's already We already got to deal with Ukraine and whatnot. He's trying to get more deals so we don't have to rely on China as much. And what people don't understand is he's trying to get fucking off the Chinese fucking tit is what he's trying to get us off of. Because right now we're still sucking on it. That's where we're at and whatnot. So we just have to we got to do better. Hopefully we can. It'd be nice to get some more bases up there. I know it's like 50-50 up in Greenland, but from what I understand, it's actually they're a little bit more open to at least us being there and having the bases open up there. So we need to get that going. But I'll be right back. Blondie, go ahead and comment on it so people know what you think. Be back in like a minute.
I don't really know. I mean, I don't know. Sorry, guys. No, that's cool if they want to get minerals and stuff. I mean, I don't know. Sorry. Anyways, hope everybody's doing good tonight. Thanks for everybody for coming to hang out. But yeah, we definitely need to get away from China and everything that we rely on them with the tariffs and all of that stuff, I don't know. And then with Canada, I don't know. That's going to be interesting how all that works out too. I haven't really heard a lot going on lately with them, with the government. But I don't know. That'll be interesting. And with me living in Michigan, the immigration's so bad here. Oh, hey. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. That was a terrible subject to leave me with, by the way. Because that's like the one thing I don't know anything about, damn it.
Yeah, but like you can still opine on it, right?
I improvise. It's okay.
We are very dependent on China, just way too much, and on foreign labor in general, right? Like, I know Trump came out. It was either yesterday or was it yesterday? He was talking about trying to, find a way to help the farmers and with their illegal fucking workers. For me, I'm still a no-go with that. Like, that's something that I'm not. To me, that's amnesty, right? Like,
yeah, I agree, and
fuckers,
that's so many people. That's like everybody. Everybody's gonna pretend that that's what it is, and
yeah, and it's like it's
I don't know, it's
amnesty
bullshit.
to me, and it's force these fucking people to hire Americans. Really, that's what it is. Why should we continue to fucking give these people? I get it, right? Like a lot of these people have been working for a long time for a lot of these farmers and stuff like that, and they've in many cases like up to 20 years, right? But they've been illegal for fucking 20 years, and you've had them working on your farm for 20 years, right? Where you could have easily fucking hired Americans because they don't want to pay American wages. They want to pay lower wages to these people.
Right.
Okay. And
or
it's
help them
bullshit.
get their papers or something.
Right. Right. What do you call it? It just, if they came here on a work visa, right? Why don't you sponsor them so they can get their fucking papers and stuff like that and make it,
Exactly.
whatever. But in the end, it really comes down to, and listen, the farming industry, like we talked about with Jake Ryan and stuff like that, is under a lot of regulation. Okay, and if you
Right.
lift a lot of these regulations, they would probably have more money to actually hire more Americans and stuff like that, right? But the thing is, we should not fucking make it a thing for them to get away with it. Yeah, you're right. The left's argument is who will pick the cotton and who will pick the fruits. That's the Marxist argument, right? Because like the left is incredibly racist. They're not really thinking about the wages and stuff like that these people are making. A lot of them are benefiting from too because they got their fucking cleaners in their homes and stuff like that. Because the left is a bunch of fucking elitists. They
But if you think
absolutely
about
fucking
it,
suck.
I mean, a lot of people had a lot of kids. They would have like 10 kids or more just to have people to help on the farm. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
maybe the farmers are gonna have to get busy making some
Yeah.
kids, and then they'll have some people to help them on their farms.
And that's how it used to be, right? Like you would have
It's
you'd
an
have a
idea.
bunch of kids and all your kids would be working on a farm, but this goes back to
But hey, that's
the
generational
regulations, right?
wealth.
And they also they have made it hard. Hey, Rognina, what is going on? You're not late, honey. You're just in time. Don't worry about it. It's one of the things that has been, an issue with farmers, right? Is passing your farm down to your kids. So the government takes a huge fucking piece, all right, as far as cost and taxes and stuff like that from the farmer who's passing it down to his kids. So like the kid is fucking, your kids are starting in a hole with the farm, and it's not easy to farm as it is. So like, don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-farmer. What I am is anti-farmer, freaking continuing hiring illegal aliens and not freaking hiring Americans because they don't want to pay American wages. I get that, but it's still wrong. But in order to
You know,
mitigate that, you have to get rid of some of these regulations. You got to get rid of this like estate tax type shit that they do to farmers, and they force them to pay. If you're getting your fucking family's land, to continue to farm, you're paying the government out the wazoo just to freaking get your own family's farm that has been in your family for probably fucking 100 years, let's say. And then what
it's
happens?
crazy.
They end up selling the farm to who? To big agriculture, right? To a big agricultural company and stuff like that. And then the little farmer goes away. So there's a lot of shit that has to get fixed in agriculture in order to make sure that doesn't happen. Yeah, Nina is never late, nor is she early. She arrives precisely when she means to. Exactly. And if you've watched Lord of the Rings, you know exactly who said that. Good one. I like that. That was good, Jonathan. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, it's we have to do something better. I was a no-go on that shit when I heard him talking about it to me, and I get it. He's trying to take care of the farmers, American farmers and whatnot, and he's trying to meet a compromise, right? But I feel like he shouldn't compromise, right? ICE is doing what it is that they're supposed to do, and they should continue to do what it is they're supposed to do.
Right. I mean, if these people, I mean, when everybody talks about, due process, well, most of these people, they've applied for citizenship, work visas, whatever, but they don't actually go to their hearings. So if none of us go to our court hearings, then we get warrants for arrest or whatever. So if you don't go
Yep.
to your immigration hearing, then you have forfeited your due process. So now
Yes.
it's fuck around and find out time with ICE. And I guarantee you over like 50%, 60% of these cases, these people have had hearings and just didn't go to it, or they had
Right.
papers and they lapsed or whatever.
Right.
So it's just you have to be responsible with your documents, like we have to be responsible with our documents. It's
Right.
just what it
Yeah, we
is
gotta hold people to the same standard,
of being a
including
grown up.
including the criminal aliens, right?
Yeah,
I always get flabbergasted when I hear a story of like, well, but they've been here for 30 years, and in 30 years you didn't try to get your shit correct. You
right.
didn't try to correct any of your shit in 30 years, and now you're upset, okay, because you're getting picked up, all right, and you're a grandma, and now you're getting sent back to your country of origin.
I mean, that
It's crazy.
sucks, but like, I mean, and
It
for the
does.
kids, like, I mean, like the kid that was, the 17-year-old that was like arrested on his way to like volleyball practice. Like he had documents, but they lapsed. He was detained. And, I feel for him because he's a kid. It's not his responsibility to do that. It was his parents' responsibility.
Correct. He's
But
still a minor. I agree. I
so,
agree. I
he
agree with that.
suffered from that. But again, sorry,
Yeah. His.
that's not our problem.
Yeah.
If I took my kids to a country, I would have to do the same thing, or I would get thrown in prison, or,
No,
probably
you'd get
worse. Who
bounced.
knows?
In more cases, you would get
Exactly.
bounced, right? Like you would just be like, you
Right.
can't stay here. They're gonna pick you up and gonna do the same thing we're doing right now, and then absolutely deport you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the rest of the world has different law. The rest of the world is more strict when it comes to immigration, anyway. Um,
Oh, yeah.
unless you're in England and France and some of these Slavic countries, although they're tightening it down now, because it's been a disaster for over a decade now, and it's made their countries absolute shitholes. They got no-go zones. No-go zones have been a thing in France going back to when I was a fucking kid. Okay, so that
Yeah.
has been a thing for a very long time. You got no-go zones in England and whatnot. Shit, we had our own no-go zones during the summer of love. But it's just like your country cannot you can't work that way. You just cannot let shit like that happen. But if you're lax with your immigration laws, that's eventually what ends up fucking happening. But
Yeah.
here's a win. Again, we talk about the Supreme Court, and they give us one win, and then they give us like fucking 10 losses because they're always on some dumb shit. Um, but this is a good win for kids with special needs. So this was a case that went to the Supreme Court. I'll read a little bit about it, and then we'll go ahead and fucking give our opinions on it. Yeah, the Slavic countries, you're right. They're not playing around right now. Hungary told the EU to go fuck off. Poland has told the EU to go fuck off. There are several Eastern European countries that are absolutely telling the EU to go fuck off at this point. And I think earlier, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, in the UK, they just changed a whole bunch of shit when it comes to immigration to make it harder. and whatnot. So, it again, the damage is already done. I know I posted today about the anti-immigration riots in Ireland, but it's not so much that they're anti-immigration. It's because of the what these immigrants did to an Irish girl and stuff like that. So that shit. They're tired of it, and you
It's
should be
really
tired
sad
of it.
what's happening
It's
there.
Yeah, it's terrible what's happening in Ireland. But anyway, let's get a good win for the special needs kids, right? Because it's worth it. It says the Supreme Court win for special needs kids, lawsuits against schools. This is great. I read this a little. I was happy about this. It said the 6 Supreme Court cases decided this morning, leaving 21 argued cases remaining on the court's docket to decide in the next 3 weeks. Produced no great fireworks and a lot of anonymity, with only Justice Neil Gorsuch writing lone dissents on 2 of the cases. The biggest news comes from AJT versus Osseo Area Schools Independent School District, number 279, in which Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the opinion with concurring opinions by Justice Clarence Thomas and Sonia Sotomayor. She's such a commie. It's like amazing that she even agreed. The net result of AJT is to make it easier for parents of disabled and special needs children to sue schools for disability discrimination. That is something that has been happening for a very long time.
Yeah.
Says the plaintiff in AJT, a child who suffers from epilepsy so severe that she cannot take lessons before noon because of seizures, received evening lessons at home until she moved to Minnesota. Well, of course, that does Minnesota. Who's in charge of fucking Minnesota? Where school officials
Tampon
refused
Tim.
the additional hours of instruction. She sued, and the court today threw out a decision tossing her case. Right, so like it must have been the lower courts must have wanted to toss a case, and then the Supreme Court they appealed it to the Supreme Court, and they were like, no, that's incorrect. It says 2 federal anti-discrimination statutes, the Rehabilitation Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act, allow lawsuits against certain federally funded institutions, including schools,
Yeah.
for discrimination by reason of disability. A third federal law, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and maybe you can explain some of these if you know some of these, because I know you work in law. Formerly the Education of the Handicapped Act, imposes more detailed rules about providing special needs and disabled kids with individualized educational programs, IEPs. I've heard of this, and states are supposed to have this, and imposes an administrative process for resolving challenge to an IEP. I don't know much about the disability laws. I know you work with, I know with some of the cases you work with, or people who've been hurt and injured and whatnot. Can you give us any insight on any of the disability laws?
Yeah, so the Americans with Disabilities Act, that covers people, so, from any kind of discrimination. That's, with anything, applying for a job, after you have a job and you're working a job, things like that. So like, say you hurt your back doing something, and then you have to have an accommodation, if you're light duty or something, they have to accommodate it. So by
Right,
law, like if they didn't, you could sue them, like if you lost your job or something.
right.
Um, the and so the one with the education, I don't really know a lot specifically about that, but I know the IEPs, those are for kids that have a lot of like behavioral issues.
Yeah,
So, that could, that could be other disabilities like, learning disabilities, or, just kids that have a lot of anger issues, stuff like that. So even, and what the IEP does is that it basically goes with the child all through their school, like throughout, whenever the issues start all the way until they're done school. And they're not allowed to use that information in that to like hold a child back from going to the next grade, or
okay.
they have to accommodate them like for, if they have to get like some extra like math help or things like that. So it's a way, that they can guide that and sort of like guide their behaviors, like with guidance counselors and all that kind of stuff too. So it kind of incorporates all of that into that. But I didn't know. That's interesting that there's a law about that though. So but yeah, I mean that is a great win for kids. I mean, they should be able to sue their schools. A lot of schools are definitely on the hook for a lot of things that happen to these kids. It's a lot of
Yeah,
negligence, a lot of that stuff.
absolutely. Absolutely. And not only that, there's abuse that happens in these schools with these kids and stuff like that. And in this case, this girl who had epilepsy, right? So like it's not even it's not even like a behavioral thing. It's an actual medical condition. Okay. And again, They go to
Yeah,
Minnesota, and the
the
state of
serial
fucking
competition.
Minnesota. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You're absolutely correct, right? So with epilepsy, there's like there's you can go from someone who has honestly minor epilepsy, which is still very severe in their case, okay, to someone who has like literally having fucking seizures like almost all the time, right? And like they can't go anywhere without somebody holding their, without being essentially carried everywhere, okay, or they're gonna fall on their face or go into a seizure somewhere and stuff like that. So for these kids to be able to, and the parents of these kids to be able to take the schools to task. And I'm glad that the state of Minnesota fucking lost, because Tampon Tim could fucking get on his chupacabra and fucking ride that motherfucker off a hill somewhere and right to the straight to hell where he belongs, because he's a big problem in that state. And it's a shame because Minnesota used to be pretty. There's good people in Minnesota. It's actually a fucking nice state with good people. And the bullshit that goes on in that state, it should technically be a red state and not a blue state. But it's just inundated with bullshit and Marxism in the Minneapolis St. Paul area and whatnot. And obviously you get people like Tim Walz who signs anything into law that has anything to do with taking rights away from parents. I know you were posting a lot of you kept posting his videos, and that shit kept getting taken down, and you kept getting fucking hammered about his video when
Well,
he
it
was
kept winning.
putting.
It went kept going. It just they kept going viral. So
Yeah,
as soon as I posted the first one on
yeah,
Instagram, it went viral. I still can't even see it at all. It's the real but I get notifications. So the
yeah.
only time I can view it is if I get a notification. So
Right.
then I posted it again, but it's literally within 2 minutes because I like checked it again to make sure it uploaded. And literally fucking 2 minutes later, I got the thing saying, "Oh, your account is banned from all non-followers." And it gave me a list of 20 posts that go against originality recommendations for Instagram. And then it
Yeah,
says I have to edit them all by either remixing them or giving credit. Well, if it's a person that I see that's posted that allows remixes, I always remix it, but I always give credit. You know what I mean? If
yeah,
I know who it belongs to, like if I got it from Twitter or wherever, like I always try to give credit.
yeah,
So what they want me to do is just remove it. But yeah, fuck you, Instagram, because I'm still for my post this morning, I've gotten like over 600 followers just from that. So they can ban me from whatever they want, but I'm still gonna post whatever I want. And I'm not
yeah,
taking the Tim Walz thing down because and it's funny how 2 days after that shit went viral that they were all in there answering to all the shit that they've did. You know what I mean? All the sanctuary city governors.
yeah.
My one
No, I
friend
was.
told me about that. I was like, seriously? He was like, yeah, Tim Walz is being questioned right now. And I was like, oh my
Yeah,
God, send me the clips. Shit
he
was
was in
funny.
front of the fucking. I know Elise Stefanak was fucking absolutely ripping into Governor Hochul. It was great to see. She was just tearing her a new fucking asshole. It was great. That stupid
Yeah.
fucking rat with her buck teeth and shit like that, and her woodchuck teeth. She just looked like this. It's fucking. She just sits there. I can't stand her face. Every time I see her, I'm like that fucking rat, because that's what she looks like, a rat. If you're just joining us, Red Day had the night off tonight. He had to take care of some family stuff, and we have the one and only Blondie hanging with us, filling in. Just to
Hey.
give you guys a heads up, myself and the one and only Blondie will be doing Wednesday nights together. On the nights that I'm not doing Warrior Wednesdays with Major Ed Polito. So should be really good. It'll be just an hour show, but we'll get a lot of stuff done and a lot of stuff in there and everything, But yeah, Jonathan, you're right. He did help Obama get a lot of the Somalis moved into Minnesota. They actually just changed it. They changed their flag like a year or two ago, right? To make it look like it looks exactly like the Somali flag, almost, right? It's like, how do you fucking get rid of a state flag that's been there forever to make it resemble? It's just, again,
That's
it's
crazy.
bullshit. It's nuts.
I posted something a while back of her and the president or whatever you call him of Somalia, and they were basically endorsing, it's when they were endorsing her to be in politics here because he was
Uh,
telling them, she's going to help out with our country.
yes,
So it's
yes,
like
that
it's
was from a
literally
couple of years
proof.
ago.
Like, just like what more proof do we need, people? Just like the fucking Muslims here in Dearborn.
Yeah,
That county where all in Macomb County, Michigan, where Dearborn is, where it's all Muslims, they have the highest reproduction rate of any other county in the state. Those people decided our governor's election, although although both times Trump won the election, our whole state was red, but I mean, those counties really tried. But when it comes to the governor stuff and everything else, it's always that county that always decides it. It's fucking Democrats.
Yeah,
It's
that's how it
trash.
is. Like again, like I said, it's just freaking terrible. They're absolutely miserable, these states, and it's like red outside, but these cities are just so dense with
Yeah.
Marxists that, they end up winning. And that's what's happened to California, which is a beautiful state. I had the fortune in my fucking life to party in both New York City for a long time and for like almost 3 years in what do you call it? In LA, because my family was up in the Los Angeles area. So I used to go
Mhm.
every weekend. I used to drive from Camp Pendleton up to Los Angeles, and I'd be partying in Hollywood and some of the best fucking bars, some of the best clubs and whatnot. It was just awesome. And the food was good up there. Everything was fantastic up there. And it's just like to see what's happening now to a city, LA, that I actually enjoyed being in when I was there, and actually had, I don't have roots there because I didn't grow up there, but I have, like, I had family there, so I used to go
Right.
back and forth, and even they moved out. Like, my one cousin is down in the San Diego area, and then everybody else moved out of the state altogether. But it's just sad, man. It's just like fucking great states that are just
Yeah.
shitholes now.
I mean,
Yes.
they love them for, Democrat policies because, Muslims or Somalis, they're not against aborting their own babies. They're against making lots of babies, but they're all
Yeah.
for white people aborting theirs. So they'll
Yeah.
totally support abortion. They'll totally support all of that shit. They don't
But
care.
75% of those fucking of the Planned Parenthood are in fucking black and Hispanic. Listen, Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist. Okay, she fucking supported Hitler and what Hitler was doing. All right, she was no angel. She wanted to get rid of not only blacks but anybody she thought was unworthy. Any like from the special needs to you name it. Okay, so everybody was in the
Yep.
spectrum for her who she felt was impure and whatnot. So um it's just Planned Parenthood was made by design, okay, to try fucking absolutely. And if you think about the amount of just in the black community, and we're not, I mean, obviously it affects all communities, abortion, but just in the black community, okay, it is just millions. I'm talking about they make up 13% of the population. There would be way more, okay, if they actually had their children.
I think since 1990, there's been 1.9 billion abortions in America.
Is that in
Uh,
America
you know,
or I can imagine what
Yeah,
it
and
is worldwide.
in just America, since 1990, 1.9 billion abortions. But something like to add on what you were just talking about, like in almost every black community, there on every corner, what do you see? There's a Planned Parenthood, a
Yep.
check cashing store, check advance store, and a liquor store. They want to keep them drunk, fucked up. They want to keep them poor, and
Well, it was
they
by
want to
design.
regulate their
It was
population.
by design. It was all
Exactly.
it was all by design. LBJ has said some nasty things. I won't
Yeah.
fucking say it on the show. Okay, he was absolutely correct. What they did with social services in general, okay, was the civil rights movement happened, okay, and even the civil rights movement is tainted with Marxism. All right, if anybody watches look up Chad Jackson on Instagram and just listen to any of the shit he breaks it down, who Martin Luther King really was. A lot of the other black leaders, he gets into it. He's really good at it, and he's actually got a movie coming out. I hope it comes out because I want to see it. Hope it comes out soon. He breaks down a lot of the Marxist shit in the black community and whatnot, and the history of it, which is like very important to understand because it was all done by design. All right, and LBJ,
Yep.
he essentially rounded them up, threw them in the projects. That's what the projects didn't exist. Okay, and manners and stuff like that didn't exist until that, right? So they build them. I specifically I know the history, fucking like the back of my hand with this shit. In every major city they did this, but in New York City in particular, they went into Coney Island, okay, and built. They fucking ripped down a whole bunch of like houses because Coney Island used to be houses and stuff like that, and they put up projects left and right, right. And who did they put in there? They corralled the blacks in there. And it was a sad thing to do. That's just what they did. They fucking the black community and Chad Jackson, again, I'm giving fucking plug in Chad Jackson. I don't know him personally. I'm just because he's just good at what he says. Okay. They had their own businesses with segregation, as horrible as it was. They had their own bus companies. They had hotels. They had restaurants and stuff like that. They gave that all up to the government.
Wow.
to be taken care of by the government because they got manipulated, okay, not just by LBJ, but by their own leaders in their own community. And to an extent, it happened to the Hispanic community too, right? Like American Hispanics at the time, many of them fell into that too. I know I have family members who grew up in fucking projects and stuff like that. And I'm just like, when you listen to the mentality, he's just like, what? You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm glad I didn't grow up that way. My family, my direct family has never been on the plantation, so I'm glad for that. But it's again, Chad Jackson, guys, look him up. It's just a great thing. He's just fucking great. I can't wait to see his movie when it comes out. He's did it with a couple of people. Um, yeah, and hang on. It says agree they shouldn't be allowed to vote anyways. And there was some Somalis. So let me go back and bring some chats. So Somalis vote Democrat. This is very true. So the Somalis vote Democrat for the welfare. You cut that and they won't vote at all, 100%, because they're fucking, many of them are illegals and they're getting it.
Yep.
Travis Spain agrees. He says agree. He says they shouldn't be allowed to vote anyways. I agree. If you're not an American citizen, I don't understand why that's still happening. But until we actually get into it and actually fucking get some balls to fix it, okay? AKA fucking Republicans grow some, right? It'll continue to do what's doing. Jonathan says the early progressives were all into eugenics. Every single one of them, Jonathan. This is 100% correct. Hitler got his sterilization ideas from an American progressive think tank called the American Eugenics Society. Can you imagine that shit? That is true, all right? He's just giving history like he always does, okay? And here it is. G. Edward Griffin was letting us know about Marxists and the civil rights movement back in the 1960s. Yeah, and think about all the fucking with McCarthy, okay? Like he was calling that shit out, okay? He was calling out who the communists were. It turns out they were all fucking Marxists. He was correct. He was pointing out the institutions and everything like that. Yeah, no, I understood what you meant, Jonathan. This is Rogue Tina says them eugenics fucks need to start with themselves and their bloodlines. I agree 100%. And yeah, and a lot that trans stuff comes out of the Marxist movement, guys. This goes back a long time, okay? You know, as fucking despicable as the Nazis were, and when some of these idiots on the right who fucking tout them now as some sort of heroes and stuff like that, when they talk about like the book burnings that the Nazis did, oh yeah, it was all on stuff on trans stuff and everything. They shut that shit down. Yes, they did that, but they also fucking destroyed all books on freaking capitalism, anything to do with Western democracy. They got rid of that. They did do that shit to Bibles. They weren't all Christians, although a lot of Germans were Protestants and whatnot. So a lot of shit happened, but the eugenics things, think about what Jonathan is saying, okay? It's a Marxist ideology thing that got wrapped up into the fascism at the time. Yeah, Jonathan is the man. I love him. He's awesome. Jonathan not only makes the show work, but Jonathan's been my dude since like freaking day one. Give you a little history because Jonathan, you're gonna get some kudos right now, okay? When I first started actually doing lives, Jonathan was the only person that was with me, hanging with me. Okay, we met through a Discord, and because we follow a gamer and stuff like that, another creator together who he actually mods for occasionally too. And he would come over because he just liked some of the things I was talking about, and he just stayed with me. And before he became a moderator, he would literally be in the chat with me, with me. It was just him and I on a live talking about stuff. Like this was all during the beginning of last year, middle of last year, close to the middle of last year and stuff. So Jonathan is the man, and I appreciate absolutely everything he does for me. So just want to guys let you know he's not only just our historian for this channel, he's our moderator, and he's just an overall good dude. Yes, Jonathan, you're 100%. See, he's always bringing this. Just remember, kids, the Soviet Union burned the same books. Exactly. Okay, they did. It's all fascism and communism are two different sides of the socialist coin, guys. It's all wrapped up into socialism. They both fucking do the same things, just different ways. But here's another good note. All right, and I'm glad this is happening. All right, so before I bring this article up, everybody needs to understand that as much as RFK is Maha, he's not anti-vax. He never has been. Okay, what he is about transparency. He wants people to be educated to make decisions and whatnot. All right, their own educated decisions between have all the information and not have shit hidden from them. So if you guys know, he fired like like everybody on the freaking vaccine board. Okay, like
Yeah.
anybody. All right, so we'll get into this article. It says, and I love the fact that he got Dr. Malone there. It says RFK Jr. appoints fierce vaccine critic Dr. Robert Malone, 7 others to immunization committee. So Dr. Malone is not a vaccine critic. He's a critic of the mRNA, which he developed, okay, because he saw the short sights in it and he was like,
Yeah.
we shouldn't do this. So like he understood it. He's like the creator of mRNA vaccination. All right. So he says Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appointed Dr. Robert Malone, great fucking pick, an outspoken COVID-19 vaccine critic. So let's be clear about that. He's not a complete critic of vaccines. To the for Disease Control and Prevention's Advisory Committee and Immunization Practices, ACIP. He announced in a Wednesday tweet. Again, this is you wouldn't know this shit because the Marxist state media doesn't cover this. Malone, a trained virologist, was a key innovator of the mRNA technology that early COVID-19 vaccines were developed from. Okay. So, however, he became one of the first and most ardent critics of the vaccines and vaccine mandates, leading to Twitter suspending his account in 2021. Him and a whole bunch of other doctors, okay, were not only silenced, they were lost. A lot of them lost their jobs. I do believe that the shortcuts that the USG have taken in bringing in the mRNA and the adenovirus vaccines, did I pronounce that right, Blondie? To market
Yes.
for this pandemic have been detrimental and contrary to globally accepted standards for developing and regulating safe and effective licensed products, Malone wrote in 2021. He's been a huge critic of the whole vaccine shit that went down during COVID. So I am glad to see him, okay, on that board because he's a key figure. He's an incredibly intelligent doctor and one hell of a scientist too. Think about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, when the whole COVID thing happened, I immediately started researching because as a
Right.
nurse, like that's just I have to find out all the information, whether, whatever it is with whatever's going on, but yeah, he's the one that discovered this mRNA vaccines and the whole, etiology of that and the physiology of that and how that works.
Yeah.
And I posted something about this the other day and I commented and I was like, he should replace his board with doctors and nurses that lost their jobs during COVID. So,
Yeah.
and I love that Dr. Malone is like his first person he picked because of any vaccine critic, it should be the one that created it. For
Yeah.
God, you know what I mean? Like if nobody else, that should be the one person you listen to is the guy that invented it.
Yes. And
And
he was trying to get the word out in 2021. And like,
yeah.
again, he got silenced. And there was a whole bunch of other doctors, if you remember, that were
And
like,
nurses, we all were. I
yeah,
mean, my Facebook was permanently banned because of what I was saying about COVID. And just like Dr. Malone, I'm not a vaccine critic. I'm a COVID vaccine critic.
right.
Like vaccines that have been around forever, chickenpox and polio and all these things that we know, yes, those work, they have high efficacy of working and all that stuff. There's research, there's development, there's, decades of research and knowing placebos and all these different things. The
I will
COVID
say
vaccine,
this.
there was none of that. Yeah,
I
it's
will say
just
this though. Did you see what RFK Jr. he was talking today about autism and whatnot and the vaccination, like how they're gonna go deep into that and everything.
I know they're supposed to be doing a study on that to
Yeah.
actually show us the rates and that's us nurses, we've always, I guess, made that connection, but there
Mhm.
was never really anything to like back that up. But we've always, I've always known that there is a correlation.
Well, did you if you heard what he was talking about, like in his press conference when he was talking about, he said he says the information is here. It has been fucking suppressed for a very long
Oh,
time.
interesting. Oh,
Yeah. So and he was talking about it. He was like, we're gonna go deep into this and see what the exact correlation is. And he's like, there were plenty of studies actually done, but have been
I'm sure there was.
absolutely suppressed and fucking not told to the public, which is a disaster in itself. So again, RFK Jr. is not an anti-vaxxer. He has been all about transparency. He wants people to make an educated decision. Look, fam, America, whatever you do is between when it comes to medicine, really should be between you and your doctor. Okay, and your doctor, okay, should not be fucking haranguing you about shit if you don't want to do something, right? Your doctor should be like, okay, this is your decision. Okay, it's your medical decision to make. All I can do is give you what I think the benefits are. If you decide you don't want to do something, whether not only just with a vaccine, whatever it is, okay, that's between you and your doctor, and you should have a doctor that's respectful of your decision too. If you have any fucking medical staff that comes at you because you made a decision contrary to what they want you to do, and they're being a fucking absolute bitch about it, then go find a new go find a new medical provider, because that's not what they're supposed to be about. And that actually was happening under COVID, right? There was a segment of doctors and stuff like that, and some nurses. Most nurses, I think, were fucking on the other side, but there were some that were part of the conglomerate, right? That were like, I got a job to have, so I'm just gonna stick with my job, and I'm not gonna fucking be honest about it. But there were some who were hard charges on this shit, and they knew, okay, that no real studies were done on the COVID vaccine, okay, that were fucking solid and everything, and they pushed this shit anyway. And the nurses and doctors that fucking tried to speak up, they all lost their jobs. Many of them lost their licenses. They not just the doctors, but nurses were losing their fucking ability to practice medicine too, and being, because
Oh
they're
yeah.
providers too. Okay, nurses are the ones that actually, any good doctor, like my brother is a great doctor. He's like, my nurses are the fucking best. They're the ones who see my patients more than I do. So I have to listen to what they say. What they say is very
Oh yeah.
important to me, because how can I make a decision if I'm not really paying attention to what my nurse writes or what my nurse is telling me what she sees? Like, my brother's nurses, they all love him. Like, he takes them out to dinner and all that other shit. He gets them fucking gifts for the holidays. He's like, I love my nurses. He's like, I couldn't be a doctor, the effective doctor I am, without listening to my nurses.
When I first became a nurse, like my first 3 weeks, like I ended up having a patient that died. And
Mm,
when I came on my shift, I could tell something was wrong. Like this lady had a peg tube, but the dumbass nurse on night shift still gave her medicines like through her peg tube, which you're not supposed to do if somebody has bloating, or they call it like a
right,
distended stomach.
right,
And this lady looked like she was 9 months pregnant, but she's like 80 years old. And I was like, hold on a second, something's off here. I check her eyes, her pupils are completely blown. So I'm just like, okay, something's up here. I called
right.
the doctor and he was like, didn't you just graduate nursing school? I don't think you know what you're talking about. And then she died she died like 2 hours later, and I had to call him, and I was like, well, I just have to call time of death, and she died. So,
Yeah.
I have to notify her family and I have to notify you. But after that, he never questioned anything I ever said again, because he knew that I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, but again, that was a shit take for him to look at you
Yeah,
just because you were new to nursing, to not listen to what it is that you're seeing with the patient. You guys are with the
exactly.
patient 95% of the time. At the most, doctors are 5% coming back and forth, right? So like,
Right.
you guys are the ones, right? So that's why I said, like, my brother, he's a nocturne, he works in a hospital. He works at nighttime where he sees fucking terrible cases all the time as an internist, all right? And he's like, I have to listen to my nurses. My nurses are with my patients. He goes, if I'm not in the ICU or going to someone's freaking room, I'm down in the emergency room, right? So he's like, I'm being called left and right because of admissions and
Right.
stuff like that. It's my nurses who are with who are with our patients, okay, before I even come to see them. Again, if I'm checking up on a patient that I admitted and stuff like that.
Right.
And he goes, 99% of the time, my nurses are fucking ahead of it, and the minute they tell me what's going on, and I do my examination, I go through, like, he has a litany of things that he does for each patient depending on what it is, okay? And he's like, yeah, yep, admit him. You know what I'm saying? Let's get an admission,
Mhm.
or let's get him to ICU, whatever it is. Okay, let's just get rolling. You know, my brother, I tout my brother because I think he's a fantastic doctor. Okay, and even though him and I disagreed at the time on the COVID vaccine and whatnot, he never once, okay, told me you're an asshole, you don't know what you're talking about. Never once did that. He's like, Eric, whatever you decide is on you, man. He's like, I can't tell you what to do. I love you. You're my brother. You're gonna do what you want. I know you're gonna do what you think is best for you. Okay. He goes, and I do the same thing with my patients. Whether I agree or disagree with him, he goes, as a doctor, it is my responsibility to just tell him, give him the knowledge, and he breaks it. He's like a great teacher. Okay. Um, hey, thanks, Travis. Travis
Oh, thanks,
says,
Travis. Have a good
yeah, he says,
night.
I enjoyed the show as always. I'm going to step away. I've got family about to pull up well, have fun with your family this week. Be safe. Okay. Don't get caught up in any of the no king shit. Yeah. Same
Yeah,
thing
be
with you,
safe out
brother.
there.
God bless you. Have a great weekend. Okay. And, like I said, my brother's always like, I'm not going to tell you, man. He never once, if anybody in the family or whatever like that was like, I'm not doing it. That's it. Okay, that's it. He never gets into it. He would never get into it with me. He's like, you do what you feel is right for you, bro. It's your
Yeah,
health, not mine.
right, exactly.
And that's the way it should be. He's like, he goes, I'm not being rude or obnoxious about it. It's like, it's your health. You got to do what you think is best for you. And he would never breach the, like, he just doesn't go. He's like, when my patients talk to me, if they say they don't want something after I've told them what I think they should be doing, and we're not even talking about vaccines, just medicine in general,
Anything. Yeah.
okay, no matter what it is, he's like, once they tell me no, I'm not doing that, he goes, that's it. All I could do is give them the information I think they need, okay, to make an educated decision. And if in that decision they still disagree with me, then they disagree with me, and I continue to take care of them to the best of my ability until they either leave the hospital and hopefully not fucking croak. And he goes in a lot of times, because of like where he's at, there's a high geriatric what do you call the population. There's also a
Right.
lot of former coal miners and stuff like that. So he sees a lot of stuff. All right. And he's like, they eventually come back to me. And doc, I should have listened to you at the time. Whatever it is. And we're not, like I said, we're not even talking about vaccines, just in general.
Yeah.
Medicals like stuff. He's like, and then he says, you know what I do? I put my hand on their fucking shoulder. I'm like, okay, let's take care of you. That's what I do. He
Yeah.
goes, it doesn't matter what I said before. What matters is now you still need help, and I still have to help you. Period.
Yeah. That's
For a
pretty much
year,
that's kind
you
of
know,
like what I do in my job. Like, if somebody's in a car accident or whatever, like their whole time that they're in like the pre-litigation process, I monitor their treatment, like depending on their injuries, depending on the kind of accident, stuff like that. And then say maybe you need to go to ortho, maybe you need to go to pain management, maybe, you should get this sort of treatment, you might need to go get a surgical consult, stuff like that. So even though I'm not like a practicing nurse, I mean, I still have my license and everything, but at
right,
this place, like I just medically manage people and their treatment. So I'm not telling somebody like there's a lady today that she was in a head-on collision. This was
wow,
like in the DC area with a high-speed police chase. So
oh god,
the guy hit her head on in this, and I have so many of these cases. It's just fucking DC and all that area. It's a hot mess right now. It's just crazy. But anyways, so, I was telling her, I was like, it's been almost a year since your accident. Like, I'm suspecting it might be like nerve impingement or something. So I suggest you go get this test done. I'll talk to the lawyer and, if that's something we want to do before settlement or something. But, I didn't tell her like, go get the test or you need to go do this.
right,
But I was like, I would suggest doing
yeah,
this or doing that to help you, with your treatment. So that's how it should be, is guiding a person and giving them advice and all the information to make that decision, but not really telling them, you can't, because anybody has the right to deny any
correct,
medication, any procedure, anything,
correct,
which is what I think a lot of people forgot during COVID is I have a fucking right to say no to your medication. I have a right to say
yeah,
no to being admitted there. I have a right to say no to all of it. Everybody
yeah.
does.
Well, they just like they follow again the states that were fucking firing people like New York, California,
Michigan.
big states, by the way, that were firing their medical staff, all right, because it started with the president, with Biden, what he was doing, and the federal government and the military and everything. And it just opened up the freaking, oh, well, the federal government's doing it. He wrote executive orders and all this other shit. So the states just took that, states like, first it was Governor Cuomo, and then fucking Kathy Hochul jumped in New York and continued his bullshit. She didn't change a thing. Out in California, it was Newsom and stuff like that. It was Whitmer up in fucking Michigan. It
Michigan.
was,
Yeah.
Walls in Minnesota. All the usual suspects, right?
Yep.
But again, it just people have forgotten about that. And I just, again, I'm just glad, like I said, my brother is the way he is as a physician. And he goes out of his way to just take care of his patients, period. He's probably
Yeah.
saved more people than he's obviously had people code on him and everything and not come back, and stuff like that. But I remember his first code out of residency, and he called me, and he was like a fucking mess, and he was just like, he's like, I thought I'd be okay, but I'm not, and he wasn't like bawling or anything, but he was like, I could hear it in his voice, and he's like, I couldn't save this patient, man. No matter what I did, I just couldn't save
It's
this
hard.
patient, and I just was like, bro, I love you, man, and you're gonna have many more of those, unfortunately, in your career because of what it is that you do. You're a nocturnist, you're an internist, so you see a lot of freaking heavy shit, and you have to you got to make recommendations and ask for consults from different specialties based on you. I said you have to kind of figure it all out as much as you can before you pass them on to the next patient, the next provider and stuff
Right.
like that. So he was like, right. And then I remember when I had my first code in EMS and I called him up and I was just like, bro, I couldn't save her, man. He's like, I couldn't fucking take her out, man. She went into respiratory distress and that AED would not, it was like no charge advised, continued fucking CPR. And we had a Lucas device on her. I don't know if you know what a Lucas device is. Okay, the thing does well, I actually, so I had this patient. She was a frequent flyer to the hospital.
Hmm.
Fucking middle of the summer. She's already had issues with her lungs, constantly in freaking, distress. And then she eventually went into failure with me. And sure enough, we get the call. It's like 6 in the morning, an hour before I'm supposed to get off and stuff. So the minute I heard the address, I knew exactly who it was. And the cop was in there. I get in there, police officers fucking working her, and he's just like sweating up a storm. He's like, I was like, how long you been working? He's like, bro, I've only been on her for like less than a minute, man. He's like, you got here, and he was
It's a
sweating
lot of
because there
work
was
to
no,
do CPR on
yeah.
somebody.
He's like, there was no AC on in the house, nothing. It was
Oh,
complete. The conditions in this house, she was because of her lung issues, is she was gonna go at some point. And of course, she was a patient that never. She just did what she wanted, right? You can't, like we just
yeah,
said, you can't force people to do things. When they decide they don't want to do
right.
something, they don't want to do it. And I jumped over her, and I just like and that first fucking pump, I cracked her sternum, and I was like, "Yep, I'm down. I'm hitting hard," And sure enough, like I was on her for about a minute. Like I straddled her, and I was on her for a fucking minute before my partner came in with the Lucas device, and I was like, "Fuck, you took long with that thing." And we put it on her, and the paramedic, was just like, just keep just keep going. But the paramedic knew, just like, yeah, we got to pick her up, let's get the gurney, we got to take her to the hospital, we got to keep working her for the family's sake and everything. And by law here in the state, we can't do DOA until we get to the hospital, and the doctor has to do it. In
Exactly.
some states the paramedic could call it, but in most states they can't. It's you got to take them to the hospital.
Yeah.
And
If
sure
they're full
enough,
code, yeah, they have to go
yeah,
to the hospital.
and sure enough, as soon as we got to the doctor, she was gone already. She wasn't coming back. And I'm talking about minutes. Like it was by the time we got her to the hospital and working her and everything was 15, 20 minutes. She was gone. And she went into respiratory. She was in respiratory distress, then went into respiratory failure, and there was a wrap. Her heart wasn't coming back. Her heart gave out. Her brain said, at the time when her heart was going out, we're not coming back. And then her brain went, and it was it. It was done. But
Yeah.
I called him up and whatnot. Yeah. Rogue Nina, I I know you think it's 1 in a million. I honestly don't think that when it comes to doctors, and only because I've been around a lot of a lot of doctors through my brother. You'd be surprised how many good doctors are out there. We watched a lot of them lose their job. Okay, during COVID, I'm talking about thousands of doctors across the fucking nation lost their license, and those are the doctors that we need to get back. But many of them were like, I'm not coming back. I'm done with medicine. That's it. I'm pulling the pin on this shit. But I think that we've gotten caught up so much with how insurance does things, because it used to be Rogue Nina, where we're probably around the same age. I don't know if I'm older, okay, but it used to be where it was like a personal thing with you and your doctor. Like even when I was a kid, insurance was there, right? It was, because insurance has been around for a long time, but it was still a personal thing with your doctors, right? Like you went to your physician and it was like they knew your family. They maybe took care of like 3 people in your family, 4 people in your family. If
Yeah.
my pediatrician took care of me and my brother, and I remember I came home from leave because I was already a fucking adult and I didn't have a doctor back home because I was in the military. I was like 19 years old, or I was like 19, and I was like, Doc, I need to see. He's like, come in, I'll give you what do you need. Just come and I'll take care of you, because I was sick and stuff like that. So it used to be where you had family members that like, a couple of fucking people in your family saw the same doctor, so there were tight relationships there. But then it became a business. Once medicine became an actual business, that personality shit went out the door. So I think a lot of the good doctors have gotten caught up in and like you don't notice them because you never know if your insurance is going to freaking approve something or something like that.
Well, like my thoughts about like nurses, there was always a nursing shortage and it was always something that we were all kind of preparing for. But none of us were prepared for like what COVID was going to do to that because
Right.
not only do we have a less population of nurses and doctors, but the boomer population is
Yeah.
now all elderly. So
Yep.
those people are requiring just just massive amounts of care and it's
Fucking
just such
boomers.
a huge cost and everything. But it's just a huge, patient load or caseload for nurses and doctors. So many of us left during nursing or like during COVID, and so many of us like I don't think I'll ever go back
Right.
with my job now. I make more money and I get to work from home. So there's literally
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that could really beat that, honestly. But um just the abuse and just the ridiculous bullshit you have to go through. Like it's
Yeah.
not worth it. I worked in psych, and we've talked about this. Like, I think I shared the one thing where the guy he was a psych patient and punched a nurse in her face and broke literally every bone in her face. And by
I
law in any state, you're not allowed to sue for assault. You're not allowed to hold them accountable criminally, financially,
yeah.
civilly, in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It
I,
just
I
goes in your
saved
medical record, and there's
I
nothing you could fucking do.
yeah,
It's bullshit.
I saved the nurse from getting the shit stomped out of her and ended up fucking hurting myself pretty bad with the patient and stuff like that. And it took like it literally because I was working in psych too, and it took three of us to fucking restrain this dude.
Yeah,
And like he actually just calmed down when like when dudes touched when three dudes got hands on with him, he fucking like he wasn't he was like okay, and then but like she was gonna get the snot kicked out of her if I didn't intervene, and I ended up
yeah,
fucking my
and
back up pretty bad with it.
I saw that happen to several nurses, and I was kicked several times trying to give people shots in the ass, of different things, and it's really crazy. And I saw some, and the security guards, they're not allowed to physically touch the patients because that's considered a medical restraint.
Yeah,
So I remember before I was even allowed to go on the floor at the psych ward, we had to take like 6 weeks of classes just to be able to like defend ourselves, how to get out of a hair pull or bites
yeah,
or different like holds and stuff or whatever. And I'm just like, what the fuck am I about to do here? Like, am I signed up for like fucking American Ninja Warrior? Like, what's happening? But it was actually kind of similar. It was like survival of the fittest sort of a thing.
yeah,
Some nurses and doctors actually became patients there because after working in psych so long, you literally become it. It's like
yeah.
it literally it's just batshit crazy in a way.
It is. It's working on a psych ward was fucking. It was nuts,
Yeah,
and
it's
I
not
did
for
that.
the weak, the
No,
weak
it's definitely
spirited or
not
the
for the
weak
weak spirited
anything.
at all. And I did that from was it 2016 to 2021. But yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, on a good note,
Yeah.
the FBI is actually doing some fucking work here for a change. It says the FBI rounds up
Really?
hundreds of alleged child abusers as agency gets back to the basics. So although we'll never see the fucking Epstein files, it's
I was gonna
also
say
good to know.
Epstein files.
Yeah, it's also good to know that they're actually doing this stuff. In a month-long FBI operation, Texas law enforcement agencies rescued 109 children from online sexual exploitation in April. See, I didn't even know this shit, okay? And the mainstream media doesn't report on this shit. Operation Soteria Shield, an annual effort managed by North Texas Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force
Yeah.
and FBI Dallas North Texas Child Exploitation Task Force, also arrested 244 offenders in an effort, according to Tuesday FBI Dallas press conference. Officials said on Tuesday, this was on Tuesday, right? And like, this article was from
Yeah.
like this morning. Officials said in a Tuesday press conference, the operation resulted in 368 total charges filed. Operation Soteria Shield brought together over 70 agencies from across the state of Texas, including police departments, federal agencies, state and federal prosecutors, children's advocacy centers, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. We had a common goal, which was to rescue children from abuse and exploitation. FBI Dallas special agent in charge R. Joseph Rothrock stated in a press release. This was not an easy operation, but a necessary one. The FBI and our law enforcement partners will continue to protect the children in our communities and will hold child predators accountable for their crimes. His statement continued. So, this is like, again, this is the shit we need. Okay. This is what I want to see the FBI doing, not going after fucking little old ladies and putting them on freaking no fly, what do you call it? List and whatnot.
There was another one I posted about the other day about up in Minnesota where they did it was a big RICO investigation that led to, like, they seized over 900 pounds of meth, but it's all this money laundering and all this stuff. And there was a big investigation they did with that, but there was a lady that thought it was like an ICE raid, but really it wasn't. It was this huge RICO thing that, they got all these arrests and all this stuff. But the lady that she ended up assaulting several FBI agents, I think some of the cops and whatever, and she's been charged federally with assaulting federal agents and stuff, which is crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's good to see. Rogue Nita, I would say the downfall was before Obamacare, honestly. I agree with you,
Oh yeah, it
Nina. I
was.
do. I think the downfall has been happening for a very long time.
Once I
Um,
started once I started doing patient surveys of things, that's when
yeah.
everything went to shit. And once it became, how did you like your pain pill with your burger, instead of, did you live or did you die, that's what it
Yeah.
should be about,
Yeah.
Anyways.
But I mean, Nina. I don't. But honey, I just know I don't disagree with you. There are a lot of. I do think there are a lot of shit doctors that have this, this ego and God fucking complex and whatnot. There is a lot of that in medicine, unfortunately. But I just think that because of those doctors, the good doctors don't get highlighted at all because we're used to seeing the shit fucking birds as doctors and whatnot who don't really give a fuck about their patients, and it's just about making the money and whatnot and stuff like that because medicine is a business now. It's not about medicine anymore. It's just about complete business.
Yep.
Unfortunately, you know, uh, yeah, I agree. Jonathan's 100% correct. But Nina, you're right, love. But on the bright side, the FBI is doing some work and they're freaking, you know, rounding up and saving kids. This is the shit that we want the FBI to be doing, which they should have been doing for a long time, right? Because we know that the Biden administration lost 300,000 illegal kids, right? And
Isn't that
probably kids in general.
insane?
I'm pretty
How
sure.
does
I'm
that
pretty
even
sure they're.
happen? It's
I'm
just
pretty sure they're
crazy.
not all illegal kids. Just
Right.
300,000 kids in general. All right. And, just to see these things happening. And, I actually reported on a couple of wins that I think the FBI and the ATF actually together, they had some wins last year, saving some kids and with abuse. Because in the end, no matter what you tell me, it's in the fucking Bible. Okay. Gotta protect our kids. We absolutely must protect our children. They are the freaking future of not only this country but the world, and we have to make sure that we don't let this evil shit happen to them. So it drives me
Mhm.
freaking crazy. It drives me nuts. But I'm glad to see that the FBI has kind of jumped on, doing this is the shit that they were supposed to do. you know
Yep. Hey, I'll be right back. Give me just a sec.
no, go ahead. Yeah, so yeah, Jonathan, you're right, man. 300,000 kids. They had to feed Biden's habit somehow. They're sick fucks. Like Nina says all the time, and her and I always fucking together. We're always talking about the wood chipper. I'm all about the wood chipper for these fucks. They deserve it. So like when you see these things happening across the nation, and it's the FBI working with local agencies and stuff like that to make it happen. Even if it's just 300 kids that got saved, it's still 300 kids that are going to be put in a better situation. That doesn't mean the scars aren't going to be there forever. They are. It's going to take a lot of freaking work to try to help these kids, and you can never fully help them because they're scarred forever when these evil things happen to them. You know, so I'm just glad to see. I'm just glad to see them doing what it is that they're supposed to do, which is very important that these things happen. I know we get on the FBI right now because we're never going to see the Epstein files, but to me that's become more of a distraction than I've already come to the resolution that that's never going to happen. So there's nothing I can do to change that. And let's look at the shit that's actually happening. That's actually good. You know, yeah, yeah, Nina, team wood chipper, hun. I'm with you, team wood chipper, all the way. Um, for sure. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen in my posts when I post these things on Instagram. I always put the wood chipper song on there. Throw them all in a wood chipper. Uh, I have no sympathy for these motherfuckers when they catch them. None whatsoever. 100%. 100%, Nina. You know, it's fucking infuriating what goes on with these kids that we just not protecting them. And what makes me mad is that social services is a big part of this shit, okay, that's happening to kids, right? You know, death to the wood chipper Americans, amen. Um, social services doesn't do their job. Many of them are fucking mixed in with this trafficking of children and everything, and it's. I've reported it on this show. I've reported it in articles and whatnot. It's just terrible. You're right, Rogue Nina. The doctor thing does come down to the individual that's actually a doctor, 100%. If you're a bad human in general, you'll be a bad doctor. You're right. Yeah, you can't argue with that, right? Like if they don't take if they don't take their oath serious, okay, to do no harm and whatnot, all right, and they're just like and have an ego and they have a god complex, they're most likely going to be a fucking shitty doctor, right? It's why again, for me, I hold everybody to my brother's standard. So like when I'm with a doctor, whatever it is, whatever specialty and stuff like that, if they don't meet the same fucking standard as my brother of how he takes care of his patients, then I know they're a shit doctor. Because my brother goes out of his way to take care of his patients. He goes above and beyond and will find ways to take care of them to make sure they get the medicine that they actually need and not, you know, after he goes through the litany of bullshit that he knows he has to go through at the hospital, okay, whatever tests the fucking insurance it's mandated for him to do, he already knows where he's going with it afterwards because he knows what his patients need ahead of time. You know, and he's like when he goes through the bullshit that the insurance puts him through because you know he's got to fucking code everything correctly and everything, you know, so
Yeah.
that his patients get exactly what it is that they need. You know, it drives him crazy the way it is right now. You know, he's like it shouldn't be that way. He's like I should be able to get exactly what I need from a patient. I shouldn't have to do the one thing my brother hates is he respects it and understands it, but he hates that the the rule out the you know the whole rule out clause thing that everybody in medicine goes through, right? He's like, you have to go through that. He goes, but a lot of times you can rule out shit like immediately when you see things. And he goes, but they make you do these extra steps that are fucking unnecessary and it just takes longer time and the care that the patient needs is not getting to them fucking fast enough, you know, before you can get a decision on something. He's like, it's just stupid.
Yeah, it is really stupid.
Jonathan says way too many doctors writing scripts for sexual favors.
Yeah,
Fucking Jonathan, man.
you're probably not lying.
Yeah, that is a thing though.
Comes to
It's like
something,
that
you
he's
never
not
know.
lying about that. That is an actual thing.
Back during the opioid, when all that shit was
Oh
going
God.
fucking
Yeah.
crazy,
Oh yeah.
there was some wild shit going on. There was like doctors that were all writing each other's scripts. I mean, there was
Oh
so many
yeah.
crazy things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the whole during the opioid, which, you know, obviously still have it, that's still an issue, but it's not like it was. It's not like it was what it has been. But like you said, man, that they were writing scripts to get fucking, you know, getting a Hummer in the fucking back room and whatnot.
But yeah,
Uh,
just don't forget that was another crisis generated by Big Pharma, guys.
yes.
I always like to remind people of that. And you know, like everybody was people that were affected by that were all supposed to get there was like, you know, they had to pay what was it, $400 billion or something to the federal government? Well, where did it all
Yes.
go?
Yeah. Well, Nina, I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry that fucking your doctors turned into fucking shitbirds. I wish that didn't happen to you because you're a beautiful person and you deserve, you know, the best care for whatever issues you have. You know. Oh my God. He says Jonathan says I had a doctor out my way, got caught writing perk scripts for sexy boom boom time.
Sexy time.
Yeah, sexy time. Yeah, you know, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Prognina, that your experience with, you know, it's a shame that your doctors turned into shitbirds and they were once good fucking people. Again, the way our health is fucking healthcare is doled out now is just stupid. And no, socialized medicine is not gonna fucking help that. I'm a victim of socialized medicine with the VA. It took them fucking 5 months to get me an echocardiogram. 5 months. Okay. I saw my cardiologist in
Ridiculous.
January, and they actually had scheduled for February, and then they fucking changed it, and I had it on Monday. Echocardiogram. This is insane.
It's a good thing you didn't
Right.
have a heart problem.
Yeah,
Jesus.
well, I actually do have a heart. I actually have a 70% occlusion, believe it or not.
Oh, not good.
Yeah, no,
Jeez.
it's not. But my EF is at 70%. So they're like, we're not gonna do
That's good.
anything. Your heart is like everything else is good. It's like your heart pumps just fine. You know how the heart is. It'll dole out extra fucking stuff and work its way to pump blood.
Yeah.
You get freaking pathways that just grow. But yeah, I'm surprised that my EF is at 70%. They're like, yeah, you must have done a lot of activity in your youth. And I was like, yeah, I'm trying to get back to that. Part of that is fucking losing the shit ton of weight that I have to get rid of and stuff. So, but yeah, no, I gotta, my ticker's not great. I'm on meds for it and stuff like. Well, it's not that it's not great. I'm on meds to make sure that it doesn't go the wrong way
Right.
and stuff. Yeah, socialized medicine will make it worse for sure. All we got to do is look at Canada, the UK. It's not good in any of those places. Many Canadians come to the US to get their medicine and stuff like that, just to fucking because they have to wait for things.
Yep.
It's a mess. Yeah, but not that. By the way, not that we need fixes for sure. We definitely need to fix healthcare here in the United States. It's way too expensive, but a lot of that is driven, like you said, by big pharma and big food, right? Big food and big ag. So the big food makes the problem. Big ag says that this is how you not cure the problem. They don't come up with cures, okay? They come up with mitigation, is what they do, and
Well,
they're
that's why
and they're
the
yeah, and
obesity
they're
crisis
they're in bed
completely
together.
manufactured.
Yeah, big food, and big farm are in bed together, and one fucking makes the disease, and the other one fucking mitigates it. Doesn't cure it, mitigates it, and it's just a big
Yep.
fucking circle jerk, right? And they're fucking a bukkake of fucking problems on your face and stuff like that they give you and whatnot. It's a nasty game that goes on with that. It's terrible shit.
I
Fucking
mean, I
terrible.
wonder, they probably making a killing off of Ozempic right now.
Yeah,
I mean, most of the population's overweight. So a lot of people will use that.
yeah.
I actually had some liberal the other day tell me I was an Ozempic person, or then he first tried to tell me I was fat, and I was like, dude, I'm like the smallest person
No,
ever.
I was about to say.
You're
I
like
was
the
about
last
to
person you
say.
could ever call that.
I was about to say, yeah,
It's
I've
funny.
seen enough pictures on your fucking gram to know that there is nothing fat about you.
No, I was like, whatever, dude. But anyways, yeah. So since they can't make money off of opioids anymore, I mean, they still make a lot of money off of that and the COVID vaccine. But Ozempic is their new thing. And I'm
Yeah,
curious, are they gonna take these commercials off of TV, all these fucking medicine commercials? Because that has always
you have
been
to
my
make it
biggest pet
illegal.
peeve with watching
Yeah,
TV.
it's illegal like everywhere except for here in Canada.
I
Um,
know, it's ridiculous.
and I think that unless you pass a law, it's going to continue to be that way. Right? Listen, my big
Maybe that's
thing,
my new thing to champion for. I don't know.
my big thing is I just want transparency, right? Like, just
Yeah,
fucking give me the I know, right? Like for instance, there are some meds I can't take. I'm allergic to. I just can't take them, right? Because
right.
I've had reactions to them, so I have no choice that I can't take them. So I got to take something that doesn't work as fucking well. Okay, but it
Right.
still works. It just doesn't work as fast, whatever it is, right? But that's just my body. Everybody's body is different, okay? And everybody's body is gonna fucking react a certain way. Um, Rogue Nina says I never understood the partying with pain meds. Guess because I don't get high off of them. Right, because you need them because of your issues, right? Like, Rognina's, she mentioned earlier that she has some nerve issues, that's just, and her doctors have failed her. And I feel for her because, like,
That's
if
really
any of
sad.
you all know who Nina is, Rognina is a fucking good person, right? She's been a ride or die with us for this show for quite some time now. And, she's here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And she's just a good person and a patriot, just like many of you all. If you're just joining us tonight, myself and the one and only Blondie, who's filling in for Red Day Walker today. She will be hanging with us on Wednesday nights when I'm not doing Warrior Wednesdays with Major Ed. going forward. So you will actually see her next Wednesday. She'll be back with us. Also be back with us for a little bit on Friday of next week. Next week's show, we got Omar Navarro for the first 30 minutes. So she'll be on there with us, hanging with us the first 30 minutes to, she was able to get Omar Navarro. So got to make sure she can ask the questions that she wants. And then we'll be hanging out with Rose Angel, one of the Perez sisters, and Cozy Wellness. So we got a lot of stuff coming up actually. On Monday, we got the 10 years of Trump coming down the escalator show. So we got a couple of guests. We got 3 guests
Nice.
that are coming on with myself and Red Day Walker. Should be a good show. Rogue Nina says, Blondie, they have, you might already know, new pain medicine that's very high risk with deadly side effects, and they make tons of money on it while using them as lab rats.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something that's replaced it. There always is. It's just
Yeah.
it's just the nature of the beast, I guess.
Yep. And you're
It's
right,
unfortunate.
Jonathan. Why vaccine mandates make no sense. He says not everyone can take your blanket solution. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
and
Yeah.
that was always my thing with COVID was, everybody's always been able to get an exemption for your job or school or whatever based on religion or just personal beliefs.
Yeah.
But COVID, I mean, you can't, as much as all these people went with it and said, okay, I'll do it, and didn't question it, there was way too many of us that did. And like, I remember a few weeks ago seeing something like, oh, a new strain of COVID, and everybody was like, yeah, go fuck yourself. Like, nobody's playing into it. Like, if they
Yeah.
tried to ever do that again,
If you
yeah,
remember,
I'll go
you
burn some
remember I
flags and
reported
it won't
on,
be American.
you remember what I
Go fuck you.
reported like what, maybe a week or two ago on the new strain out of China? that
Yeah,
China was battling with a new strain and stuff like that. Like, it's just
well,
it
good
is
for
what it
them.
is. Like I mean I report this stuff because I just want people to know, right? Because
Exactly.
we all get to see from, the bigger channels and whatnot, all the shit that they have on repeat that we all know about. So like I try on this show to just bring stuff that like is not being covered.
Right.
I guess I'm trying to be more like the old school fucking media where you got a bunch of litany of things to hear about and like, oh shit, that happened where? And you just didn't know about it. Like, does anybody know that there was a fucking flight in India that crashed and one person survived?
That's
Have you
insane.
heard anything? It happened yesterday, actually, by the way. Okay. Have you heard that on the news anyway? One guy survived. Literally, like one person survived the crash.
Gosh, lucky
Without any
guy. Jeez.
scratches. Well, I'm talking about without any scratches. He fucking walked away from it. So like you would think that would be blasted over the airwaves that wow, like a miracle fucking happened. Okay, with this dude, he survived.
Well, there's so many other crazy, everything with Iran and Israel and all that. I mean, as soon as I saw it, I mean, I've been talking with people about that for a while. I mean, we've been talking about that coming. We all knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of time. Trump was trying to make sure we didn't get involved in it, but they're going to make sure we do. And the retaliation's it's going to be something bigger. It's going to be something worse than 9/11. I don't know.
I will say this. Something that I noticed really quick was that both the Russians and the Chinese who have been in bed with the Iranians have completely stepped away from them. They
Yeah.
have they haven't even talked about it. There's no support from them. They've stepped away and they don't want to get dragged into this shit, so that's why they stepped away. All right. And obviously I don't want us to get fucking dragged into that. But yeah, I did. I think I posted it yesterday, Nina. I did post that yesterday, but like I posted about the crash, but later on I found out later on in the day, and I don't know if I probably didn't post it. I found out about the guy that fucking walked away. I was like, what? Because I posted the crash yesterday morning because that's when it happened, like our time in the morning. But I didn't get a chance to talk about fucking or post it. Yeah, his guardian angels was definitely on it with that plane crash for sure. So yeah, I don't know what the retaliation is going to be, but I know that if they do anything stupid here in this country, um, I know a lot of people are worried about the sleeper cells that are here. They've been here way before fucking. I know everybody's blaming Biden. These sleeper cells have been in this country for a very long time. They
Oh
got
yeah.
they're in Dearborn. They're in fucking Brooklyn, New York. They're in their compound up in fucking northern New York. They got a Muslim compound up there and everything. They're everywhere, and they've been in this country for a long time. So it's not just the Biden administration let a lot of them in, but it's just not just not happening under the last administration. I will
A lot
say
of it happened
this.
under Obama too.
I will say this: if they any of the fucking uranium that they were fucking with, they turn it into a dirty bomb, all bets are gonna be off with them, and it's that whole country will get turned into a fucking parking lot. We won't use any nuclear shit to do that, but and if they set off some dirty bomb, they set off some dirty bomb here in the United States, all bets are off. We're gonna absolutely fucking annihilate. Trump will annihilate them. Like he'll be like, you think what Israel fucking did to you was bad? Just
Yeah.
watch. So like I just don't want any of that shit to happen. So I'm praying that none of that stuff happens. We have to be wary. Fam, we said early on in the show tonight, the No Kings thing, people they're gonna be rioting out there. They're already dressing up like MAGA Antifa is. Stay away from that shit. Stay away from the protests. Go
Yeah.
go to a baseball game, go to a water park, go to an amusement park, do something with your family, go hiking, whatever it is. Stay away from the bullshit. Detach yourself, head on a swivel. If you can carry in your state and you have fucking pew pews, make sure you carry diligently and whatnot. Just stay away from that shit. Any other protests going on, stay away from it. You know. Thanks, Jonathan, for posting that. Appreciate it. Yeah, I saw that they launched hundreds of rockets, and I was actually seeing that earlier, and a lot of them have fucking missed. Um, we're actually I know their Iron Dome is taking shit down, but we're actually taking shit down, helping too, because that's just the agreements we have. But we're not taking part in actually bombing Iran, which is we don't want no part of that anyway. Um,
Right.
but I will say this: Trump, for 60 days, has been telling the Iranians, "Come to the table, come to the table, come to the table," and they keep making excuses, not listening to the Iranian people, to the Persians here in the country who have family that out in Iran who are fucking stuck there. If your government and when your government actually gets toppled, and if the fucking Ayatollahs goes with them, because they killed a whole bunch of their military leaders, all right. If the Ayatollahs go with them, it is your chance to fucking do something for freedom, because you guys used to have a beautiful country in Iran. You guys were fucking free before the Ayatollahs took over. Your women were able to fucking live their lives the way they wanted to. You guys had a lot of Christians in your country because that whole area was fucking just mixed for centuries and whatnot. So it's up to you guys it's up to you people to fucking fix that. Um, he said there are two on that fucking map in my tiny town. She's talking about the No Kings. She's like, I want to drive by with my bear spray so bad. No, Nina, stay away from that shit. Don't go anywhere near that
So
shit.
I went to the site because I wanted to like investigate it more, but you have to sign up for it. And I was like, I
Yeah,
just don't
fuck
want
that.
myself affiliated with this.
Yeah,
Even
fuck
if I
that.
use like a burn your name and email, like it still has my shit on there. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be linked to these fucking freaks.
Yeah. It's just in the end, stay away from this stuff. Just stay away.
Yeah.
Vigilance. Practice vigilance this weekend, but just go do stuff. If you got some nice weather and you live by a beach, go to the fucking beach. Go suntan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I wish. I'm in Michigan though. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I mean, how's the weather up there? Shouldn't your weather be like summerish
Well,
by
it was
now?
cloudy today and kind of chilly. Like I was a little chilly, but
But what
I'll
is
be
I
in
mean,
Baltimore soon, so I'll be at the ocean, so I'll be good.
yeah. Yeah, we're in June now. So your weather can't be that bad up there. You guys have beautiful lakes and shit up there.
Yeah, it's getting better. I mean, it's been in the 70s and 80s, so it's getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 85 degrees with a humidity factor of like 50%. And so it felt like 95 when I walked out of work today to go to my car. But I've kind of acclimated to it already, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll take this any day over the shit up in the Northeast that I have to deal with. This
Yeah.
winter, I had in January, I had like a week where it was like 80 degrees all day, and I was
Nice.
like, this is what I'm talking about. I was like, this is the shit that I'm talking about. Like, no more of that bullshit. I was like, it's January. If I was in the Northeast, I'd be fucking stuck in the snow up there. It'd be like 40 below. It's ridiculous. I know it gets cold as fuck up in Michigan.
I'm not fucking built for this shit. I'm like, I don't know how people fucking live here. Now I know why they all live in different states. Why, like, when I lived in Tennessee for a while, years ago, and there was like a town there, and it was just nothing but people from Michigan. And I'm like, why does everybody live here? And then once I moved here, I was like, oh, I totally get it. This place is fucking cold. Yeah,
Well,
but it's beautiful. I mean, especially this time of year, you're just going fishing, and there's so many parks and stuff.
yeah.
It is a beautiful state, but I don't know, it's a mess.
Well, speaking of fucking Iran and war, we got war pig Lindsey Graham.
Oh,
Here we go.
fun.
Yeah, we got war pig Lindsey Graham cheers Israel's attack in Iran, calls on the U.S. and Trump to go all in and finish the job. I actually posted this. This was like my last post of the day today. Fuck him and the chupacabra he wrote on. He can get right back on that motherfucker, go off a hill to one of the 9 hells. It says on Friday morning, the Israeli military forces, we all know that. At the same time, images, yeah. Where's his shit? We just discussed that. We all understand. Lindsay posted these jubilant remarks on X on Friday morning. Again, I applaud President Trump for urging Iran back to the negotiating table in order to end the regime's nuclear ambitions through diplomacy, avoiding further bloodshed. However, if Iran refuses this offer, I strongly believe it is in America's national security interest to go all in to help Israel finish the job. Fuck him. One of the benefits of this approach is that it would substantially undo the damage done to our reputation by Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Again, go fuck yourself. If diplomacy fails, going all in for Israel shows that America is back as a reliable ally and strong force against oppression. It would strengthen our hand in all corners of the world as well as other conflicts we face. Yeah, he can fucking take his half a fag ass and go do his fucking Eiffel Tower shit with the dudes that he fucking bangs and get the whatever bukkake he likes to do in the Motel 8. He can take all of that and fucking cram it all up his ass. Fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck him. We ain't doing that shit. We're just not. Okay. I just don't want. I don't want to get caught up in this shit. I don't.
Yeah,
Again, Iran's not attacking us. They're Listen, I have nothing against Israel doing whatever they want to do. They're their own nation. Okay. That's the consequences of theirs. Not. They shouldn't be ours. So
yeah.
that's the only thing I worry about. But it looks like Trump is really going out of his way to stay out of this shit. You know.
I saw on X last night. The fucking Iran military has their own X page, and it said, "Just remember, Israel struck us first." So it's
that,
like, I don't know.
that's
World War
not.
III is about to happen. Get ready,
See,
guys.
but Iran has been using fucking proxies to fuck with Israel forever, right? It goes
Yeah,
back and forth, right? Let's put it
sure.
this way: Israel's attack was so fucking it was so immense, okay,
Yeah,
that even fucking Hezbollah was like, "Yeah, we're not fucking with who's a proxy of Iran, okay? Like, we're not fucking with Israel right now. We're just gonna let it be." Um, they don't want nothing to do with them right now. Again, that's Israel's
mm,
mess. Let them fucking take care of it. They're
yeah,
an affluent nation. They buy enough military equipment from us and whatnot. I know we give them aid and stuff like that too. That I'm ready to dial that shit back too. But
yeah,
whatever shit they buy from us, we have some real lethal shit. That is on them. So it's unfortunately for their people to fucking have to deal with. My worry is any shit that happens here because
yeah.
if somehow they manage to get some dirty shit into the nation and a dirty bomb goes off in one of our cities and fucking has any kind of radiation, we will turn the whole Middle East into fucking glass. Okay. And
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt.
it'll be all bets are off because you can't take that back, right? Like you did this to us, okay, because you're fucking angry with one of our allies, we just do it. You know. And Trump is trying desperately to fucking stay out of this shit. you
Yeah,
know uh and it's just like, and I think he just needs to stay that course. It's like, we're not getting involved. This shit has nothing to do with us. This is between you guys. Okay, I've tried to get Iran to the table, not even just for Israel, more for us, because like he's trying to get this, that we were trying to get an Iran nuclear deal type shit that we had previously, but
mhm,
way better. Because like so when he was president, what people forget is when he was president the first time, he buried them financially. They couldn't sell
mhm,
their
yeah,
oil anywhere. They
yep,
had
remember
no money to do anything. The minute fucking, dippity doo fucking shit pants became president,
Bo
like almost
Jiden?
immediately. Yeah, Bo Jiden, almost immediately, okay, he gave them billions
Mhm,
of dollars. He just released money to them. He gave them fucking pallets full of money in his first fucking couple of insane. All right.
yeah,
And he gave them the money that they needed to just continue to do the bullshit that they do in the Middle East. Because Iran is not our friend. None of those
nope.
fucking countries are our friends. Okay, even to an extent, right now Israel's not a fucking friend. I'm just, I'm not. We got agreements with them. Okay, so we're gonna honor our fucking agreements, if need be, which is what we're doing right now. But I don't want to. I don't want any fucking thing to do with Iran. Nothing. I don't want to fight them. I don't want another 20 years in the Middle East with American fucking men and women dying, and just don't want it. And the reason I can't stand Iran is because, Iran played a big role in killing a lot of Americans in Iraq. Okay, a lot of their fucking bomb making materials, okay, made it into Iraq, all right, and for fucking almost 2 decades, okay, well, it was like a decade of fighting in Iraq. We just kept it in Afghanistan, all right. They were killing IEDs, were killing their equipment, would fucking help killing our soldiers and Marines and whatnot. So
Mm,
if we turn them into glass, I could give a rat's ass. With that said, I know there's a lot of good people,
same.
a lot of good Persians in Iran. And every time they try to fucking start some freedom shit, it's actually the women who always start some freedom shit because the men are fucking cowards. They end up killing some woman who took off her shit and was trying to have some freedom and fucking fighting in the streets and stuff like that. And they never fucking fight. And that's the shit that gets me. Is because I know there's people that want freedom, their version of freedom. Nobody's ever gonna be like us, okay? And that's what
Right.
people tend to forget, and that's what got lost in the global war on terrorism is that we were trying to make people be like us, right? We can't do that shit. The nation building shit, we got to be done with that. And I don't want anything to do with fucking Iran. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, we way too many people lost way too much in Afghanistan, Iraq, and it's not worth getting involved in. If Israel and the Jews want to have a world war, they can have it. They can finance it. They can, you know, be the puppeteers of whatever it is that they're doing. But
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, we got
it
agreements
just
with
is what
them.
it is.
We got agreements with them, and we are helping them fucking knock what do you call it, missiles out of the sky, because that is happening. We can't say that that's not
Yeah, I
happening.
saw
But
that. It's
yeah, but that's all we're doing. We're helping them knock missiles out of the sky. I don't want anything to do again. But the only thing, if the sleeper cells in this country, I think two things will happen. Okay, and it won't be very good. All right, if they set some shit off in the street, Americans right now with the division and everything is it's not going to go very well for fucking, I'll be honest, for Muslim communities. If you fucking harbor any of these fuckers, it's not going to go over
yeah,
well. It's going to be
yeah,
really bad. And I don't think the general Muslim population in this country want any of that shit to happen, regardless of how they feel about us, because they know that it's not going to go over very well. It won't. It just won't. It'll be different than 9/11. It'll be fucking worse.
it'll be
9/11,
worse. Yeah, yeah,
9/11, you had a few isolated incidents of fucking so-called Islamophobia. None of that shit really happened because most Americans just let people live their own lives and we don't give a shit about one another. Um, but if they set
but
off
it was
some dirty,
different.
yeah,
Like, I remember being with my ex-husband, like, since, I'm from the DC area and stuff. And I remember being with him down there and like, there's lots of Muslims, there's just people from everywhere
yeah,
there. And
yeah, it's
like
mixed, very mixed.
I could tell whenever he would see a Muslim or I could tell his demeanor would change. It totally just kind of changed his personality some. It was really interesting, but
Is because of the shit that we had to deal with, right? Like
exactly. Oh
it was
yeah,
the shit that we
exactly. It
saw.
was
Like, none of the shit we deal with. Like, Major Ed was talking about it on Wednesday about, that fucking shit with the shit, the pedophilia and all that stuff was a real thing that we had to fucking they wanted us to turn a blind eye to that shit, right? So we just knew
yep,
that some of these people, that most of them are fucking monsters. Listen, it's a religion born on violence. Okay, nobody will ever convince me. I've said it 100 times when we talked about it. Um, a
yep.
lot of them in these countries in the Middle East, they hate the Western world. It's not just the Jews. They hate us. They hate Christians. All right.
They
Look for
they hate
Christians in
women.
any of these. Look for Christians in any of these countries. We used to have pretty dense Christian populations in all those countries. Not anymore. Okay,
Yep,
for a reason. All right. I mean, the Christians are getting killed in fucking Africa. Okay,
yep.
by Muslims, and nobody ever reports on that. Fucking, the Christians in Armenia and stuff like that. So they hate our way of life, and I've said that before. Okay, obviously maybe not all of them, but most of them hate our way of life. They don't believe like we do, and they want to establish it. They still want to establish a caliphate. They've never had any kind of reformation or anything. They're true believers, many of them. Okay, and they will fucking end your life in a heartbeat You see all these fuckers with fucking pride flags, the pride for Palestine and shit like that. Yeah, do that shit and fucking on the Gaza Strip, whatever buildings are left, because Israel is fucking knocked down just about everything. They'll toss you off one of those fucking buildings.
Yeah, like what was her face? Greta Thunberg that was trying to go there,
Yeah,
and she
they
was kidnapped
deported
by
her
the
ass.
Israelis.
They deported her
And I was
ass
like,
back to fucking.
I would have
They
loved to
scooped.
seen her fucking dumbass, her little ship, her fucking ship, fucking poured up, and then she just goes to the Gaza Strip, and like, what did she think
Yeah,
was gonna happen?
yeah. They knew that boat was not headed anywhere near the Gaza Strip. They knew they were gonna get picked up by by
Exactly.
Israel, uh, the Israel Navy and stuff like that, and they were gonna get sent back. They knew that. They just deported all of them. They didn't do anything. They didn't arrest them or anything. They just sent
Yeah,
them back home, put them on a plane, and said, "Here, we're giving you a free ride."
it was all just a pretend thing to make content. That's all that it was.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jonathan. 100%. You'll fucking never convince me the same. Like I said, it's a religion born on violence, and we fought 3 fucking crusades against it and stuff like that because we got
Yep.
after 400 years of taking their shit, we finally did crusades. Okay, but it's just you won't convince me. I'm not gonna side with them. You won't get them. That doesn't mean that I'm like I, I'm still like Israel. You're starting this shit. It's all on you. You fucking take care of it in the end. But they will. I hate people don't understand. Like the Israelis will take care of it. Okay, they will. All right, they've done it before. Though this is what they're doing again. They have set their fucking nuclear program back decades with the bombings that they did, and they did it once before. They're doing it again now, and it's just it is what it is. And I know everybody, there are a lot of people who think we're controlled by Israel for whatever fucking stupid reason. Okay, we've actually had held the clamps on them for a very long time for what they could have done in that region. And this is for the first time we're just letting them do whatever the fuck they want. Let them, I don't care, let them take care of the problem. I don't give a shit really at this point. As long as we don't get involved, I don't care. Nina
Sorry, I
said
was yelling
Greta's
at my
head.
kid. I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
No, Rogue Nina says Greta head grew up, but the rest of her is still looking like she's 12.
I
Absolutely, she's
know.
fake. Yeah, she's
I
just
thought
like,
she was 12. I was like, why is this little fucking kid on a boat? I didn't know what was going on, but
yeah,
I thought it was so bizarre. Like, did they not hear about these people? The one
yeah.
couple, the white couple that tried to bike across somewhere in the fucking Middle
Afghanistan.
East and they
It
were
was
killed.
yeah. There was a
Afghanistan.
couple that did it in Afghanistan too. That were doing some shit and got. I was like, what? Back in the day, I was like, that was
I
pretty
tried to
stupid.
share that on Facebook and I tried to share the link on Instagram and I tried to share the link on Instagram. Instagram refuses to post the comment. There was a
Yeah,
whole post about it that somebody had and I was like really going into it and I was like, "Oh no, I have the link." Instagram refused to let me post the link in a comment
yeah,
to the fucking article talking about these people that were killed in the Middle East. And it's happened to me on other posts too, where they refuse to let me post comments about or post links to stuff. Because you know
yeah,
me, if I'm gonna talk about something,
yeah,
I've got receipts, I've got facts, I've got studies for days. I'm not
yeah.
talking about nothing.
Absolutely.
I got something to
Yeah,
back
but
me up.
like I said, I'm not jumping on the fucking bandwagon to suck Palestinian dick or Iranian dick. It's
I
just
mean,
not
they can suck
happening.
each other's dick. Some be
Yeah, they
over
can
here in
suck each other's
America
dick, but I'm
doing
not.
what I do,
I
and
them motherfuckers, them bastards will kill me just as fast as they killed just, just their hatred for fucking Jews is not just Jews. They hate fucking Christians. They hate the
yeah.
Western world in
They
general
think
and
they're
what
the
we
chosen
stand for.
people, so they hate
Yeah,
everybody but themselves, and that's all
yeah,
that it is. And the Jews
that
are the
is all
same
it is.
way. So
Yeah,
it's just one big, I don't know, it's one big fucking mess.
yeah, yeah. It's again, it just heaven help fucking if they do some shit and set some dirty shit off in this country, it's gonna be fucking hell to pay. Like I said, and even if Iran was like, well, we're not claiming that we didn't do it, it'll be too late. We'll the, then we will end up turning them into a parking lot. And again, I don't want any of that to happen, right? I honestly don't want any more fucking death. Um, Having seen enough death in my life and being where I've been and doing the things that I've done, I don't want to see any more of that shit. Um, but again, Israel's going to do what they feel they need to do for themselves. I don't have to agree with whatever. It doesn't make a difference. They don't give a shit what my opinion is. They're going to do what they want. Period. That's
Yeah.
it. What they think is best for their people. But again, that's their fucking battle to fight, not mine. Um, but I damn sure ain't gonna side with fucking. I know a lot of big con and a lot of fucking on the right. There's this rise of just hating Jews and hating Israel, whatever. I have no hate or anything like that. I'm indifferent about it more than anything.
That's how I am, and I feel like a lot of liberals, they're like, if you don't, if you're not against, if you're not
Yeah,
against, if you're not against Israel, then, you support,
but it's not even,
mass
again,
murder
it's
of
not even, yeah,
Palestinians. No, I
but it's
don't.
not even
I
just
don't fucking care.
it's not even just liberals.
Sorry.
There's a big movement in big con to fucking do. They sound just like the liberals when you hear them talk.
I
You know what I'm
know.
saying?
I
So
know.
like
It's such a bizarre thing.
yeah, it's just like, you hear some of them talk about you hear some of them talking about how the fucking Nazis were great, right? And you're like, are you, well, they try to
I've
break
seen
down
so much
history.
of that, and it's, I mean,
It,
what I think, I may think whatever about Jews and the control and the money and all this stuff, but I don't wish genocide on anybody, just like I don't wish it on anybody in Gaza, just like I don't wish it on, the people that were in the Twin Towers, just like I don't wish it on our soldiers that died. I don't want it to happen to anybody. It just doesn't mean I'm
yeah,
for another side, and you can
yeah,
be
but
objective and just,
but
doesn't mean you're
again,
in the
but
skin don't get.
even with fucking, I don't hate on fucking. Listen, I don't hate on the Jews for teaching their kids and their community, okay, to fucking do what it is to succeed. And
Right. I
if
don't
they're in
either.
control of stuff, we could do the same shit, right? Like, why
Yeah.
aren't fucking other groups doing the same thing? And you know who else does it? Indians. The Indians, they got their shit together. Okay,
Yeah.
and their kids end up being doctors and all kinds of other stuff because it's the shit that they put in them, right? The Indians fucking make way more money than the average American because it's instilled in them. So like, I don't hate on that. It's just, it's not something that bothers me because we live in America, and if we really wanted to fucking succeed, we would do the things that we needed to do, put in the hard work to fucking do it. And stop
Exactly.
bitching about what other people may have or what control they might have. Okay, so do something about it by fucking, why aren't you building in your own communities? Why aren't you fucking having, stores and stuff like that, and
Right.
building theaters and shit like that, owning your own shit? You can do it. It takes hard work to do it, but you can do it. It's America. You can do whatever the fuck you want if you put your mind to it. So I don't
Right.
get caught up in all of that shit. None of that shit. I ain't part of that. It's just like whatever. Anybody can fucking make it here in the U.S. if you really try it. Uh, you know, I don't get caught up. I haven't been stuck in so many rabbit holes that I can't get out of them and stuff like that. A lot of these people on both sides are stuck in rabbit holes that I'm not going to be part of. Um,
Yeah.
again, I'm just indifferent to the whole situation. The only thing I don't want is I don't want to get caught up in it. I don't want us to get caught up in it, and because if we do, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly across the fucking board, here in the
Yeah.
United States, and just, you know, God forbid we have to absolutely fucking turn, like I said, a whole country into a parking lot. We can do it. People don't think that we can. We can still do that if we need to. All right, and I'm gauging it on the fact that the Chinese and the Russians have essentially backed off fucking, and they haven't even mentioned anything about what's going on.
No.
All right. And they're in bed with the Iranians like deep, right? Like they're all fucking friends and stuff like that. Well, for financial reasons, but not really that they're friends. And, as far as ideology and stuff like that. But when it comes to fucking being adversarial towards the United States, they all agree with that. But with this shit that's going on with Israel and Iran, the Chinese and the Russians have kind of backed off. You haven't heard anything from them. They're like, whatever. I
Right.
guess it's, you got you, yo, do you guys. We're not getting caught in that because they don't want to get caught in. Right now, they know the president we have is not going to fuck around.
Right.
Right? It's not
Exactly.
Biden. They know that if they step in and fucking one American anywhere fucking gets caught up in their bullshit, it's going to be fucking hell to pay. They know that. He's not going to fuck
Yeah.
around. Trump is not going to fuck around this time. He's not. He learned his lessons from his first term. He's not. So a lot of people know that, and they don't want to mess with it. So again, I hope that both those countries come to some sort of resolution at some point. They're gonna bomb. They might bomb each other into oblivion. Actually, it would be Iran that gets turned into oblivion because Israel has the means right now to defend itself and to protect itself better than the Iranians do. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So
I guess we'll see.
hopefully, yeah, we'll see. But anyway,
Hopefully not
stick
either.
around, hon. I'm gonna take us out for the night. So just stick around, and we'll talk in the behind the scenes. Yes, China does buy military tech from Israel. They aren't going to bite the hand that access to Western hardware. You're 100%. Jonathan, as usual, fucking, he's always on point with shit. So anyway, just stick around, love, and then I'll take us out right now. Oh, you got anything you want to tell the people before we go?
Well, just thanks everybody for coming to hang out, and make sure you guys tune in next week. I'll be on Wednesday, and then Friday we have Omar Navarro, and I don't know if you guys really know a lot about his story, but yeah, he ran against Maxine Waters 4 times, and he's got this big trial coming up. So it's a really interesting story. I think you guys are really going to want to hear this. So I hope you guys tune in, and have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
All right, I'll take us out. Well, America, that was another great episode with the one and only Blondie, Break the Machine podcast. As you know, she'll be with us for a little bit on Friday to talk to Omar Navarro. She helped arrange that, so I want to make sure she can ask the questions that she wants, and we can get a good episode with that. She will be with me on Wednesday as well. She's going to be joining me on Wednesday nights when I'm not with Major Ed doing Warrior Wednesdays. So that's going to be pretty cool too. That'll be just an hour show on Wednesday nights, continued that way. It'll be a little bit shorter. When she comes back, I'll let her know. I'll let her know, Nina. She stepped away for a little bit. I'm waiting for her. So, but yeah, we have a good show coming Monday. We got like a little panel and stuff like that. It'll be myself, Red Day Walker. We got Rula Hasgrit and Annie Var is coming back. Um, she was here for our communism episode about talking about her family in Vietnam. And we also going to have the PR conservative is going to be with us too on Monday. So we got a pretty good panel, and we're going to be talking about the 10-year anniversary of Trump coming down the escalator to announce his presidency. Guys, sign up for the Discord. We need to get some more people there. Jonathan, I think, made his decision for the 21st, so it is what it is. But you guys need to join up on the Discord. We have movie nights every month and whatnot. So we want to get more people there so we can, have a selection of movies and get some good voting in and whatnot. All right. So just join the Discord. Don't forget to pick up your Scars and Stripes, fam. Pick up some coffee. It's a great company. They're all about faith, family, and freedom. In their case, it's faith, God, and country. I'm sorry, God, family, and country is what what their thing is. I just say it a different way. You want to join? You definitely want to. Their coffee is really good. I don't think they have K cups, fam, but they do have grounded and they do have beans if you like to ground your own coffee and whatnot. Very, very good tasting coffee. They get them from they get it from different countries, but they roast the coffee here in the United States. So very, very good blends. I think you'll enjoy it. And also, it's great to have you guys. Rumble, you guys turned up again. You guys are always doing your thing. Appreciate it. You guys are freaking awesome. Love you guys on Rumble. Well, I'm the Big Red One Guy signing out. And remember that together and only together can we break the machine. God bless you all. God bless America. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. And remember to stay safe this weekend, fam. God bless you, fam. Have a good night. I will see you all on Monday.